Zurilamus listeners, on today's Zurilamus podcast, I am joined here in the studio in Newcastle with a man that was involved in a shooting that I guess took the world by storm, more here in Australia, the Lindt Café. Now, I had on previously Officer A, Ben, and he told his story, being the guy on the trigger that pulled the trigger that day. And I have another guy that was involved in that day. He was actually in that stack, in front of Ben, I believe. In front?
Yeah, probably parallel.
There
next to each other.
And his job on that day was breacher.
Yep.
So, again, we've got a guest on involved in the shooting at the Lindt Café and multiple other things as well, which we'll definitely touch on. Sure. His name is Mick F. We'll leave it at that for now.
Yep.
And, again, New South Wales Police, massive career, which is pretty cool, and obviously reaching the pinnacle of TOU, the top end of the scale. But, mate, Mick, how you doing, mate?
Mate, I'm great. Thanks very much for having me. This is pretty awesome, yeah. So I feel very privileged that I can be here today, so it's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, mate, obviously someone in between has linked us up.
Yeah.
He's actually current cop.
Yeah.
And he's pushed you, and he goes, I've got this guy. I'm like, mate, who you got? And he goes, this guy. I'm like, 100 fucking percent.
Yeah. No, yes, we could probably credit him for that because I probably wouldn't have reached out. It's probably not my thing to do it. But yeah, well, we're here, so it should be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. So what I want to do, mate, let's before we get onto Lindt and all that other stuff, let's get back right to the younger days. You grew up in the Central Coast. 1984 baby, so you're a free range baby like me.
Yep.
Cruising around in your pushy and just being a dirtbag in the Central Coast, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So grew up around near the entrance there. So sort of Killarney Vale, Berkeley Vale. Spent the vast majority of my life growing up around there. So it was good. It was sort of, as you say, like once we were old enough, it was a lot of bike riding and riding to the beach and spending a lot of days out there and doing that. So, yeah, it was good. I had a good childhood. So,
schooling?
Yep. Just went to the local public school. We moved from Berkeley Vale to Killarney Vale, so I swapped over, which is probably, you look back, it's only a couple of Ks away, but we swapped schools in year 3, went there, and high school started there was a brand new high school at the time at Tumby. So we started off there with the first year 7 group to go through at that school. Turned out to be a bit of a rough school, I guess, to start with. It took in a lot of low socioeconomic kind of areas around there. So there's constant dramas to start with. The police are up there all the time and things going on. But, when you're young, you kind of, you're aware of it, but you're kind of just like, oh, well, I'm just hanging
they're
out.
my mates.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out with my mates. Like they weren't grubs or anything, and we sort of just did our thing. But yeah, there was a bit going on in the background, but
right.
It was good. Yeah.
And how'd you go at schooling? Were you like the rest of us, mate? Just didn't apply yourself?
It's
just a boy thing back then, I think.
Yeah,
even is now. Like they're just,
I'm much more aware of it with my children. I'm kind of trying to make sure that they
just doing what your parents did to you. Try it anyway.
Yeah, but I'd say average. I wasn't setting the world on fire or anything like that, but I got through enough, and so it was good. I probably could have tried harder, I guess, but you don't really look at your life in that sense. I'm just like, I'll just go hang out with my mates, and sport was my main concern back then. Like, it was just anything to do with sport. I was
right.
Yeah,
sport and chicks.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. How to be cooler and try and get the chicks, which I failed at. But it was good. Yeah.
Siblings? You got any siblings?
Yeah, one brother. He's 5 years younger than me.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. So we had a bit of an age gap, but my memories of childhood are him and I just every afternoon, either if it was winter time, we're kicking the footy, playing footy, or summertime, we're cricket mad. So playing cricket. If there wasn't a day, unless it was raining, we were out there in the backyard playing. So I never really looked at it as that 5 year gap. Like he probably had to deal with it a bit more because I was obviously bigger than him and running at him. But he handled it well, and so it's just him and I.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. It's a big gap. It's a big
gap.
Yeah. But I guess it's because there's only 2 years. You know, that's probably why it was fine. I reckon if there was 3 or 4, it might have been a different scenario.
And my parents had me when they were pretty young, so I think they were 21 or 22 when I was born. Yeah, right. So I think I might have been a bit of an oops baby. And then obviously once they got their bearings again, and then my brother come along a few years later. So
yeah, we've all got those oops babies. Far out.
Yeah.
It's costing me in child support now too.
They're expensive.
Mates, in regards to the police, obviously you don't join the police till 2006. So you still got there's a big gap in between. In regards to your family, is there any history within the police? Or?
Well, not real. Oh, my cousin, she was in the police. She's probably 3 or 4 years ahead of me in the police. So after school, I left in year 11, at the end of year 11, because I'd done some work experience at a local carport awning kind of place. And after that, they offered me an apprenticeship in carpentry. So I'd kind of gone, well, I don't really see myself going to uni. I may as well get a head start on a trade. So off I went and left school. So I started a carpentry apprenticeship at basically end of year 11, started year 12. So I never did year 12. And then by the time I'd finished that, my cousin was in the cops by then, and I'd started getting an interest in it. And by the end of that apprenticeship, I was like, I think I want to go do that. So,
so you finished your apprenticeship?
Finished my apprenticeship. It was in my head that I wanted to do that, and then it just kind of, I wasn't sure because obviously I'd been on pretty average money as an apprentice. And the time had sort of come where I could go back out and start subcontracting, and it just sort of didn't work out. And then there was a big push at the time for recruitment for the college, so I was like, I'll go give this a nudge. And so application in, and I think by the time I finished my apprenticeship, it was probably within a few months I was at the academy. So basically finished, officially done, and then a couple of months, and then was at the academy.
Run me through this process of back in 2006 of applying for the cops.
Yeah,
were you jumping online and find the number? Or?
It's hard. I don't really remember, to be honest. It was obviously submitted an application. It was an election year, so our class was absolutely massive. What was called F Troop, I guess. That was when all that dramas with the academy and everything all sort of blew up. So I don't remember the application process per se, but I'm sure there was obviously some forms and everything to fill out and background checks and things, but I don't know if they're going to the extent of all the, I know some of the older fellas, like, they were ringing your neighbours, and I just don't think they physically could, because I think we started with 1,100 at the academy when...
1,100?
Yeah, it was massive. It was a sea of people. Like, your lunch line would be...
What do you mean, 1,100 in your...
Yeah, in that session. So it was massive. It was election year. There was a big push. They were saying, we need cops everywhere. There was people, when I first, I'm probably jumping ahead, but when we got down there was the accommodation issues. They put us out at an old nursing quarters, and then we were there for like 2 or 3 days before they realised it was a fire hazard and hadn't been done, so they moved us all, and it was chaos. But we all got there, so I think we ended up graduating with, I think it was $7.99. I think it was the number at the end. Yeah,
that's massive.
Yeah, so there's people from my class that I would run into years later, and I'd be like, I don't remember this person, like just from sheer numbers.
Yeah.
Like
how big was the group? Like the groups, I guess.
Oh, you had your sort of your
30.
Yeah,
30 blokes.
like your small sort of core group. But it was kind of the way they structured it then was split. So they split sort of groups into 2, and basically you do one group would have PT, physical stuff in the morning, and then you do your academic stuff in the afternoon, evening, and then vice versa. So it was the only way they could really structure it. So it was pretty crazy. And then there was all that drama with, I think, because they were pushing so hard for more cops that they were just handing out passes and, okay, that's good enough, away you go kind of thing. So I may be a recipient of that. I'm not sure. But anyway, we got through and, but it was a pretty crazy time. It was awesome. It was good. Look, what was I, 2021?
2006.
21, maybe 22.
Yeah, 21.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so it went down in 2006.
22. 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah.
I remember turning 22 and I was outfield.
So
I was outfield when I turned 22.
Yeah, so around that 21, 22. It was pretty good still. We had the bar at that point was still open, but it was only open for about, it would have been a couple of weeks. And then I think they realised
someone fucked up.
Yeah, it was a mistake. So that got shut off, which is probably, who knows? Like, it would have been.
It doesn't matter. Because everyone gets on the piss anyway.
Yeah, we'd just go out into Goulburn Town and
turn it on.
Yeah, it was good. It was awesome. It was a great time. But
how long was the academy back then?
I think it was about 6 months, give or take. It was definitely a long time because I remember going down, and it was cold. And then by the end, we marched out in January 2007, so it was quite hot. So it would have been 6 months. There was obviously you have your session 1, session 2, so there's a break in between. But we actually didn't do any placements at that time, just because I think we would have probably crippled the system with how many there were.
Yeah.
So they made a decision that we don't have to do a placement. So we kind of, by the time we got to our actual stations, it was kind of like, okay, this is
real deal.
Yeah. So we didn't really have a taste for anything then. But
how'd you find the academy?
Not bad. It was obviously a bit different. Like I'd never had any military experience or anything like that. But once you get your head around what's what and what's expected, it was all right. It was just getting used to the rules and what you can do and all that sort of stuff. But it was good. I didn't mind it. It was, you get stuck in your own. Because there was so many of us, we ended up getting put right down the back of the academy in these. I think it was just all blokes down there. These demountable little, probably the size of your room here, I guess.
Yeah, like a little 20-foot fucking.
Yeah, and it actually wasn't bad. You had your own little fridge and little TV. You had a shared bathroom, which, with a bunch of blokes was a bit could be a bit hectic. It's like, jeez. But it was good down there. It was kind of like our own little space, and it was all right. The cold, it was so cold that the taps would freeze and all that sort of jazz. But it was a bit of fun down there, and it was good.
And how'd you go with, like, say, the shooting and stuff like that? Because you never really exposed to any of that stuff.
No, I'd never touched a gun prior to going to the academy. So, I don't think I had any particular problems. Like, I think I got through all the shoots not too bad. It's hard to remember exactly. I'm sure I wasn't a great shot or anything like that, but good enough to pass what they wanted from us.
The basics.
The very basics. Obviously, it's a bit intimidating when you first pick up a firearm and you're waiting for it to go off. And but I enjoyed that sort of stuff. It was good. It was probably the academic stuff was the challenge, because I hadn't gone to uni or done that. So just what was expected academically was probably a bit of the hardest part, and learning things verbatim and all that sort of stuff was the challenge.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got through it.
Yeah, right. And how were your parents? They were happy?
Yeah, I think they were pretty happy and proud. They come down with me on the first day when we did the drive down to Goulburn and drop off, and I think they were proud that I was doing it. So that was all good. I don't think they had any real concerns. It was cool. I think my old man, when he was younger, said he wanted to join, but he had long hair back. This is obviously back in the
70s.
Yeah, 70s. He had long hair. His bald as a badger like me now, which is ironic. And they said, you have to cut your hair if you want to
He's
join.
like,
I was like, nah, not doing it. So he never did it. But so I think they were proud that I went down.
Yeah. Just quickly back to your younger brother. What's he doing? Is he?
He's a plumber. So he got into plumbing. He was looking at getting into the fireys at one point, but he ended up doing a plumbing apprenticeship, and he's still doing that now. So
Oh, is he? Yeah. Right.
yeah, he's got his own. He's got his partner and 2 little girls, and living his life down there. And
Is he still down the Central Coast?
yeah, up sort of is it near Wonga there, I think.
Yeah.
So
right.
I don't see him that much, to be honest. Just life is and.
That's it. Central Coast is too dangerous anyway.
Yeah, it's rough. No, it's funny when I grew up there and always
Work back there.
worked there and pictured that as home, and now I don't feel any sort of connection to the Central Coast anymore. It's kind of a bit like a satellite city of Sydney, really. Like
it's Penrith on the water.
Yeah. There's some beautiful spots. It's fine, but it wasn't until I left and I sort of retrospectively looked back at it and kind of like, there's some rough heads around here, that's for sure. So, but no, it's good, mate. It's I probably couldn't afford to live there now, even if I tried. It's gone through the roof. But it's,
just on the academy side of things, as you said, you had 1,100 to start off with.
You probably somebody might fact check me on that.
Yeah.
But I think it was around 1,100 when we started.
And then finished with about 800-ish.
Yeah, it was. I'm confident it was 799 because just that number stuck in my head. I'm like, one more, we would have had 800. So it's either 799 or 899, but I think it was 799.
And just like out of that 799, how many you reckon were decent cops?
Well, as I said before,
I suppose you didn't get to know.
I didn't know a vast majority of them. So
because I find that these large recruitment drives that they do, which they're trying to do now, it just recruits the.
Yeah, well, I guess you're casting a wide net, aren't you? So
you're casting a very wide net. Yeah.
I do remember there was a few taps on shoulders, and obviously background checks were slowly getting done, and things were coming through, and it was like, hang on a minute, we've found something here. Yeah, time to pack your stuff and leave, and things like that. So obviously they were chasing their tail a little bit, trying to make sure everything was above board, and whatnot. Having said that, I ended up at the TOU with a few people out of my group.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And like my mates that are still in now, like my best mate, he's still in he was doing like security for Premier stuff and Dig Pro and all that sort of jazz. So like there's some awesome operators and stuff getting around. It's just there's probably a higher percentage of people that probably bluff their way through, and
it's just a job for someone.
But that's everything though, isn't it? Yeah. Mates,
you obviously get posted to Flemington for your first in Auburn police station.
Yep.
In regards to that, do you get a preference?
Yeah, so I think at the time it was like you had to nominate 3 or 4 Sydney stations and then a couple of country spots, and I was a young single fella then. I was like, I am not going country. I'll quit. If they send me country, I'm not going. Like, my attitude on that has changed now, but when I was younger, so Flemington was actually my 3rd pick. And it turns out that's where my cousin was working at the time. So we ended up working together. But because I was living on the Central Coast, I was planning on commuting. So I thought if I get something on the train line, I can just jump the train. So I think I picked City Central and King's Cross, and then got Flemington, which is Auburn Police Station. But got that. So which worked out for the best. It was.
And how many other cops out of your academy?
Oh, there was a few of us.
So it's at least not walking in by yourself.
No, but I do have a funny story about that because I made a fool of myself after leaving the academy. But there would have been 10 to maybe 15 of us. I think like there was a good chunk because obviously we had a big class and we got a few. So there was a good chunk of us. But we left the academy there. We marched out, and I rock up to Flemmo. I've got no idea, and so I've got my gun with me, and they're like, "Yeah, your lockers upstairs, head up there, here's your keys, like go put some stuff away and we'll put your gun away and just head upstairs, turn right order. But Auburn Police Station is attached to the council building, so they send me upstairs and then I'm walking around and I'm looking at the council building and I'm just lost. I have no idea where the change rooms are. So I'm walking around everywhere and then doors locked, so then obviously council people can't get in. So I'm locked out upstairs somewhere and I was, oh my God, what am I doing? I think I had to go find someone, I think it was from the council, to say, can you let me back down?
Oh,
like
no.
I had to go back down and say, I don't know where I'm lost. And I think they must be going, who's this goose? It doesn't can't even find the change rooms upstairs. But anyway, we got it sorted. But yeah, I thought I'm gonna have to redeem myself after this one. They're going to give me a bit of stick about that, but it was all good. It was fine. Just embarrassing.
And running through your first uniform day, can you recall it?
Yeah, to a degree. It was they have like I'm sure they still do a bit of a induction,
Like a nursery type.
yeah. So I think most of us, I don't know, it would have been a couple of days late, like dropped off, and it was probably a few days later that we had to go back for our first shift. So they have a bit of an induction. You meet the boss and the people that you need to meet, and then little barbecue and things like that, and they show you around station, show you how everything works. And then we actually went out for a bit of a foot patrol. It was just a familiarisation of the local area there, and that was when I kind of got a grasp of where I was working. It was
In Auburn, yeah.
very,
Very,
heavy
culturally
sort of,
diverse.
yeah, very. A lot of Lebanese, Arabic background, so all the shops were kind of
falafels everywhere.
Yeah, it was great food.
It's great food,
Yeah,
yeah.
great food. It was amazing. So yeah, just getting a bit of a what's what of the area and stuff like that, and I don't think there's anything particularly memorable about it. It was just, your eyes you're wide open, going, oh, okay, what am I doing? Like, feel a bit like a deer in the headlights kind of thing, but yeah, no, it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then moving forward, as you said, you start doing your own job. You're pretty much first parading and getting out doing the job. How are you going in the first few weeks? Just starting to grasp concept and
slowly
to the
I think.
extent,
it's I'd lived a fairly exposed life, I guess. I just standard life, like it was just kind of like, oh yeah. And so obviously there's a bit of okay, and you're trying to learn processes and trying to learn people's names and how things operate and what's required of you. So there's a lot of information coming your way. So it was kind of wow. But I had a good couple of FTOs that kind of steered me in the right direction, and so it was just I did have that mentality sort of early on, sort of just shut up and listen, and we'll just see what happens. Like, they'll ask me to do something if they need me to. So I was just kind of like, okay, just so I'd sit there quietly and just listen to what was going on. So I'm sure if you ask them, they're probably like, oh God, we don't hold much hope for this bloke. I don't know, but your confidence builds as each time you're doing a little bit more, and you get to know people and sort of relax. And I think once they work out, you're all right. It's they dial off the pressure a little bit and sort of help you out.
Was there any like little bit of hazing or anything?
Oh,
not to the extent of like
definitely not
fucking hazing, waterboarding or anything, but
nothing that jumps out at me. I'm sure there was. There's probably comments, or
probably more in the TOU.
Definitely. Who knows? It wasn't nothing that stands out.
Yeah, and I guess political correctness was coming in. It was just, this is where the death symbology for the army started phasing out, and we started,
Yeah, there was nothing that I sort of went, oh, that's a bit odd or anything like that. It was all sort of...
You're a bloke though. Yeah.
Yeah, but... Yeah, so it wasn't like I was going, oh, that seems soft or weird or anything. It was all, in fact, as time went on, we kind of like it was encouraged, like, you know, go out there and get into it. Like, so our boss was pretty good at the time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So he wasn't, we had some ongoing problems and he was kind of like, go get amongst it, sort it out. So that was great. Like, so that kind of built your confidence a fair bit because you're like, all right, well, I've got it. You know, when you first come up against an angry person, you kind of like, oh, here we go. What am I doing here? Like, how do I sort this out? Like, you know, real life's a bit different to SPAC scenarios and things like that. But
which simplifies things when you know, a commanding officer that goes, get out there and get the fucking job done. If you fuck up, own it.
yeah,
If you fuck up completely, then it's your probably fucking fault.
Yeah.
But I'll back you to the death
yeah,
if you do something that you guarantee you feel that it was fucking the right thing to do.
that's right. And I think as long as you're, you know, operating in good faith, you know, if they're a good boss, I'm sure that they'll, you know, they want you to. Look, the problems we were facing are their problems, right? They got to report to people, and so if that problem is removed or dealt with, then it's just one less that they have to worry. You know, I'm sure there's probably some that, you know, as you get older and you do it a little bit more, you probably become aware of there's problems and they want it resolved, but they don't necessarily want to know how exactly it was resolved. Just make sure that is done. So that's where it gets hard with, you know, walking that fine line. Like, I'm not talking about anything bad, but there's times when you've got to front up to these people and not back down. So, you know, you got to be in their face and sorting it out. So it forces you to grow up pretty quickly. I was always pretty quiet and, you know, if anything, shy. But it kind of forces you to sort of grow up and sort it out, because otherwise you're just going to get walked all over.
Yeah. Well, you're a decent chunk of a human now. How were you back then?
I was a fair bit lighter than I am now.
Fuck, we all were.
So I wasn't.
You're fit though. Fit
enough. Like, I wasn't anything. I wasn't super fit. I was just fit enough. But yeah, you know, 6'2", so I had at least a little bit of height
stature,
on me. Yeah. So which I think helped. So,
well, it definitely does.
Yeah.
The first step of the force continuum is presence.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I was lucky enough in that sense. It's funny because a lot of the fellas from my dad's side are all short, chunky fellas, and my old he'd be 6 foot, maybe 6'1" or maybe. So we're lucky we got the height genes, because every other bloke on our side is pretty short and stocky. So I was lucky with that. But so it was just sort of a real learning experience, trying to work out how to talk and deal with the people that we were dealing with at the time. And so you learn pretty quickly.
Yeah. Now, you spent, a couple of years there, but during that time, this is one question I generally ask a lot of the cops, first responders, etc. You know, you deal with a lot of trauma, death, suicides, murders, just the heinous stuff you'd come across as a police officer that the general population, even like myself, don't, only seen what I've seen overseas, but as a civilian here in Australia, you don't get to see too much of, that stuff. So everyone kind of remembers their first, which is crazy. It's normal, but not normal. That's what I say all the time. But mate, run us through this, because this is your first exposure. Did you get any exposure through the academy?
No. So we didn't do any of that, just because I think there was so many numbers that they just went. So we didn't do any rotations out at the stations or any coroner's visits or anything like that. So so this is my sort of real first exposure of death, and it wasn't particularly bad. It just it was a older fella, from memory would have been maybe in his 60s, I suppose. And it turns out he'd gone out the back at some point during the night to have a squirt, and it looks like he's had a heart attack or something and died. So he's died in his backyard. The only extra thing was that with, I guess, his dog at some point has come out and tried to, I don't know, wake him up or see what's going on. So by the time we got in there, the dog had eaten basically half of the skin off his face off. So as we're walking up the driveway, and there's a little chunk of flesh, I guess, where the dog's spewed up. So at the time I didn't really know what that was. I was just like, oh, what's that? And kept walking, and they had him under a sheet, and my buddy at the time was like, do you want to have a look? And I think they kind of encouraged it and said, go have a look, just to get you that exposure. So I pulled the sheet up, and yeah, I never forget it. It was just like, it was kind of like the skin had been eaten sort of basically from the top of his head across under his cheek down. So it actually looked like a Terminator mask, and his eyeball was still sort of sitting in the socket. It was straight bone. Like the dog had just licked it clean. And it was just a really weird look. Like it just, obviously never seen anything like that before, but it was dead set looked like a movie mask. Like just kind of went there, and I thought, okay, well, there's my first dead person. Now, it's but that didn't bother me. It was just kind of like, okay, I was more concerned about how I needed to react. Obviously, the family was still there, and they were a bit upset and things like that. So just trying to be professional and kind of deal with that. But I distinctly remember
Just on that story, because someone else has told the exact same story in past podcasts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
Whether it's the same one or
this was at where was it? It was at Lidcombe.
So after that dog, did a female boss come along and pat this dog, and the dog was licking her face?
Oh, no.
That's not it? No, yeah.
No. I do remember that they did send someone back later on to collect the feces from the dog, because obviously it was
did the same thing.
Yeah, well, it was obviously getting rid of the human flesh that had been eaten, so they had to. I don't know why. It's obvious what's happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what we need to collect that. But someone. It wasn't me, thank God. But had to scoop it up and send it off for analysis of some sort. But yeah. So anyway, I guess moral of the story is, don't die in the backyard with your dog, I suppose. It's
crazy that the dog eventually just goes, fuck this, I'm just going to eat this.
Yeah, I can only assume that it's tried to wake him up and then a few licks and then gone, hang on, that's not too bad. And ripped into it. So, that was an odd one, but
What do they do with the dog? Because obviously the dog's eating a human at this stage.
Yeah,
surely they put the dog down because it's it's like a shark. It's got the taste of human.
Yeah. I don't know. If it's got a taste for
somewhere.
Flesh, I'd say the dog's probably dead now.
Someone's
it's a long
family
time
dog.
ago. Yeah. Drop it off to a shelter. But I think because it didn't necessarily attack him, just kind of obviously got a bit hungry. Yeah, so a bit strange, but yeah.
But that's. I guess for you too, this is your first exposure.
Yeah, I was a bit like
a dog eating a human being after he's died. Like that's
it's not.
That just adds to the
it's not
trauma
common.
of it.
Yeah,
really. Like fuck. That's weird.
You wouldn't think, you wouldn't be able to script that until you go, oh yeah, there you go, there it is. So it didn't never bothered me. I think it was just sort of, right. These things happen, yeah. So
right,
yeah.
And over that, next 2 years or so before you get into the OSG side of things, is this a regular occurrence? Coming across dead bodies and trauma?
Yeah, like most police out there, you've got suicides and I probably don't even remember all of them, to be honest. You might have someone. Someone that's a bit older that's passed away in their unit. I think I've heard similar stories from other people before. A week, 2 weeks later, you get the call and
you can still smell it now.
Yeah, and you can you get the vibe as soon as you walk up and you're like, here we go.
Fuck.
This is, we call them a dead one, which probably sounds a bit, but you're like, there's a good chance something's going on in here. But you seem to go to them a lot, and
it's just a regular thing.
Yeah, which sounds weird to say, but you just sort of look at it like, okay, this is, if there's nothing particularly weird about it. It's just someone's passed away due to natural causes or whatever. It's unfortunate, and kind of it's never nice, but it's not particularly well, it can be confronting depending on the stages of how long they've been, but it just kind of becomes one of those. You start your paperwork and away you go. But as a pro, you're kind of more there observing and learning how to do it. I don't think you're allowed to do deceased until you're confirmed, but you're still there, being exposed to it, and which is all good. It's all part of it. I guess you expect it, but it's once you start seeing it, then you're like, okay, like you always feel, I don't know, I always had that element of like, feel a bit sorry for him, like, like, I don't know why, but like,
Well, that's what I think. That's what Sem said. Craig Semple. It's not dealing with the person that's obviously passed. It's dealing with the family or the kids or whatever that's around.
If the family's there, then it's always a bit harder because it's they're upset and doesn't matter if they're old and they've died of natural causes. It's still confronting and not nice to see. And so probably dealing with the family and things like that in those circumstances are hard. So there was what you would call a stock standard kind of deceased things, and then there's obviously attempted suicides or suicides, things like that. They were a bit more, if you get there and
were they often? Because seems like it's a lot now. Obviously, it's different times.
Yeah, again, hard to say. I definitely recall going to more than one, that's for sure. But whether it was, you'd say often or not, but I think it seems a bit more prevalent now. But there were definitely times when we turned up to a few, and either in their garage or there was one fella in a park. So things like that. Like, and you start, you come down.
In a park.
Yeah, just around the corner from his house. And he wasn't an old fella, like he's only a young bloke. But, you start doing CPR, but it's kind of
too late,
in vain kind of thing. Like, I think it's more of a, we'll give it a go sort of thing. But it's generally pretty obvious. But, they happen pretty frequently. But it's just, again, it becomes part of that's just one of those jobs we went to. I think unless you have a connection or something reminds you of something, or if it's, kid stuff is often the hardest for people to deal with, especially if you've got kids and things like that. Like, sometimes it may be something that reminds you of something. I think that when it sort of burns in your mind a little bit more. But I think most of the time for me anyway, it was kind of like, that's sad, but let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. Now, during this time, mate, any occurrences or meetups with TOU, or just seeing them walking through, just looking cool with all the kid and M4 slung, and it's like, who are those blokes?
Hey, no, I knew exactly who the TOU were because that was my main driver for joining the cops, actually.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Right. I kind of wish I had the noble, I really want to help everybody, and but my main drive was I want to do TOU.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I want to go. I'd seen things on the news, sieges and that, and I'm like, who are these blokes? Like, that looks sick. And so I started looking into it, looking them up, and I've got a bit of a, not an addictive personality, but like, if it's in my mind, that's what I want to do. It's like, okay. And so that's what I want to do. I'm going to do that. At least try. I didn't know the first thing about how or what, but I knew that was my goal at some point. But funnily enough, I think it might have been my third or fourth shift. There was a siege at Newington, and we were on, and so we got called and we're doing perimeter work, and the TOU boys rocked up then. And they actually brought the big truck out, and I distinctly remember seeing, like, the back of the truck was open, and one of the fellas coming off, and he was big dude. He had a big dark set of hair, like, just, he just looked impressive, and I was just kind of going, oh, that's sick.
That's
like,
gangster. Yeah.
and they got the guns and
Yeah.
the gear and stuff, and I'm like, that's it. I'm doing
that's
this.
me.
Like, yeah,
That's
this
me.
is I want this so bad. So, yeah, that was I kind of were there for hours, but they did their thing. I don't remember how it was resolved. I'm sure they did an entry or something like that, but yeah, that kind of just cemented it.
Yeah.
This is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fuck that era. That's the Jason Semples or maybe the Brett
Yeah,
Purnells. That's their era.
Could have very well been.
Just look gangster.
Yeah,
Just-
you know, like you throw your gear on top of, especially if you're already a decent size, like just sort of you look larger than life kind of thing. And it's like that's impressive.
All
like,
blacked out. Just
yeah,
looking
blacked
cool.
out.
Just looking
Like
cool.
yeah, like it's probably just that. Like
Yeah. Not shaving, long hair.
yeah, wow.
Oakley's on
yeah,
their head.
Yeah. It's I think that some of them now don't have to shave, but then they did have to be clean shaven. But they just sort of imposing figures. Like, and I was just like, I think this is the line for me.
That's him. When toxic masculinity was allowed.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that was purely a bravado type thing.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted. I could do that. That's how good this. But yeah, that was good.
So 2008 comes along, OSG course, which is the operational support group. Is it?
Yeah, so they're sort of part-time riot squad stuff. So graduated from the academy on the 30th of January 2007. But you had to be confirmed before you could attend the OSG course. So that's where Sydney-based stations are lucky. Like, I pretty much got confirmed, and I don't even know, within that next little period, pretty quickly, myself and another couple of the boys that were on the OSG course. So, which was awesome. Like that, and I wanted to do it as not that it's the same as, but get that taste of sort of just, being yelled at, physical stuff, just to see what that's like, see how I go with that. But that was a good course. I forget how long it was. It was a few weeks, but running around, getting yelled at, doing push-ups. But there was also a lot of drinking of a night time too. So, a few times we were hungover, running around, just going, I'm not drinking tonight. Like, and then you'd finish the day and we're going out for beers. All right, let's do it. But it was good. It was a good course, and I got a funny memory of we'd been out the night before, a few drinks, and with my best mate, and run around the academy. We had respirators on. I just thought, never take your mask off. Never take. And so you're trying to breathe, and it's like, and then we're hungover, and they're getting us on our back, and I just remember it, and it was we're doing like butterfly kicks or something like that, and it was raining, and we're trying to breathe, and my mate next to me, he's dry heaving like in his mask, and I'm lifting my mask up so the instructors couldn't see, so I could at least get some fresh air in. I thought, I've got to spew in this mask in a minute, but it was good. It was good fun. Like, it was, running around and having stuff thrown at you and all that sort of jazz. Yeah. So
isn't it crazy? Like, when you're that age, that you can get on the piss 24/7, smash out a run the next day, or gas fucking training, or
it was great,
and you're just good to go for the next.
I reckon
whole day.
A good chunk of that I spent hungover that course, and But now, like, I'm hungover, I can barely get out of bed.
Fucking
like,
about a week of recovery.
Yeah. So, but obviously, would have been 22, maybe then 23, maybe. So keen to get into it. So it was just fun. Like, it was good. So.
And at that stage too, the cops had a bit of experience when it came to riot training. Obviously, had the Macquarie Field riots, Kurnell riots.
Yep.
So there was a bit of experience getting thrown around.
Yeah. The course was good at in my limited knowledge of riots. It was like a lot of the public order based training and everything like that. It seemed pretty good. They spoke about old school methods and things that happened at Redfern and stuff like that. And there's a lot of work went into developing that sort of new package on how to deal with that, and a bit more dynamic as opposed to just standing there and copying it. And so I think I had a few lessons learned from previous things from there. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, right. And mate, During this first couple of years, any times you've had to go for that pistol, mate?
Not directly. You do a building search or something like that, and you'd pull it out then and go clearing it. If there's a break-in enter at a factory or something, there's around Auburn near Silverwater there's a few factories, and sometimes they'd get broken into. So you would pull your gun out then and do a clearance. Nothing that jumps out, but until sort of there was a job at Regent's Park.
17th of January 2009.
There you go, 2009, yeah. So that was, whether that was my first time getting my gun out, I don't know. It happened pretty frequently. And I didn't have any reservation. Like if I felt like I needed to, like I'd always would. So
Tool that it'd be used.
Yeah. So it just, if it needed to come out, it'd come out. But obviously things de-escalate and not often. A lot of the time things come across or seem really bad, like especially via radio. You're like, oh my god, what's this? And then you get there and it's nowhere near what.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, look, all right, let's dial this back a little bit. There's nothing that jumps out besides when we got to that.
Yeah. So before that was just building clearance.
Look, there may have been times.
It feel cool though. Like full LAPD stuff.
Oh, especially the first time you do it. Like I remember ringing my old man like the first time we put the lights and sirens on the car, and you're like, "Wow, we did an urgent duty up Parramatta Road. Like that was awesome."
Yeah.
And when you're first doing a few of those things, you're like, "This is sick. Like, how good's this?" And then obviously the more you do it, you kind of it's lost its kind of. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, doing urgent duty is fun, but to a degree. But it's. The shine sort of wears off, but just it's not as impactful to start with. So, there's nothing that jumps out at me where I'm like, well, definitely I got it out this time. So, there's some police that don't get their whole careers and don't get it out.
Yeah,
so it's just kind of it's not overly common. It just depends on the situation.
I'd be the worst police officer. I'd be.
Yeah, you're ordering coffee.
People.
I'll have a flat white. Yeah. No, it's it's. I think it has a lot to do just with situations where you're working.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
it all comes into it. Your mindset too, like if
of course.
But
Now Regent's Park Hotel.
Yeah. That was probably one of my first. Real good pumpy,
like hostile type.
Yeah. So, when I say
2009, mate, January 17th.
Yeah. So at that point, I'd been confirmed. So I was, especially at Auburn, but basically the day you get your stripe, you become the senior person on the truck, which was daunting, So that happened. That would have happened in 2008. So I'd been a constable for a little bit, and was working with a female, and we just happened to be in the station, and the supervisor that night was one of my first buddies, and he was supervising, and we're in the station, and the station officer answers a phone call, and she's like, right, and couldn't hear what's going on, and she's like, there's a hold up at Regent's Park Hotel. So what had happened, these blokes had busted in just after closing time, so I don't know what time it was, must have been 11 o'clock or something, maybe cleaning up, and one of the workers had run into an office and called the station directly, so not even AAA. Just
did that, yeah, right.
So, and we were the car crew that night. We're just back in the station. So she's like, "There's a hold up at Regent's Park." So we take off. Supervisor heads off in his car, and we're flying down. So it's probably only a 5-minute drive.
You know exactly where this pub is too.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, because it's in your area. You get to
drink there a few times.
Yeah, no. It wasn't one of those sort of joints. It was just it was just we just knew where it was. And so we raced down there, but we got our lights going the whole way, but we don't have the sirens on, which is probably against the policy. But we're kind of like, let's get there because they don't know we're coming. So we so we pull up, the pub's sort of on my right as I pull up, so I'm driving. And my supervisor cuts across the road and he basically pulls up outside the front doors. We don't really know much besides there's an armed robbery. So he pulls up first, I pull up on the opposite side of the road, but we're both facing the same way. And he goes to get out of the car, and as he's halfway out the door, the crooks kick open the front door with a shotgun coming out through the door. And he sees that and sort of tries to retreat back into the car and jumps back into the car and closes the door. And crooks obviously realise the gig's up, we're there. So they slam the door shut and run back inside. So I'm getting out of the car and the supervisor's like, go around the back, go around the back. So I start running to go around the back, which is the pub's right next to a sort of set of shops. So it's all sort of in a one thing. And it's sort of I think it was like a pizza shop or something like that. And as I'm running down the road to go around the back, the fella from the pizza shop's going, come this way, come this way, come this way. He's like waving me through. So I was about to cut through. And as I do, about to run into this pizza shop, there's a emergency exit door for the pub. That comes flying open and the crook comes running out.
With a shotty?
Still got the shotty in his hand. So I've yelled at him I can't remember what I said, probably I've shit myself, stop, police. And he's kind of turned around and looked at me with the shotgun, and I'm sort of reaching for my gun to go, hey, I took caught totally unawares. I wasn't expecting him to come bolting out. And he turns back around and starts bolting. So I naturally start chasing him. And across the road was a library, and then a little public library and a public car park, but it's black as it's night. It's not very well lit at all. So I'm chasing him around the back of this library and I'm screaming at him. Obviously my supervisor hears that I'm chasing this bloke. So he cuts around the other side of the library and I'm not gaining, but I'm not losing. We're just kind of in this zone. And he runs around into the car park, and supervisor, he was pretty quick and he got a good angle on him and pushed him into a timber fence. And so get him on the ground and get him arrested, and he had balaclava and everything on. So he ripped that off, and we quickly realised it's one of our well-known crooks, I think he was on bail for armed robbery offences at the time.
Of course he was on bail.
Yeah, and he lived just around the corner.
Yeah. Was he running home, was he?
He would have. Yeah. So the dog squad come.
You have a shotty on him still?
No, so it turns out he dropped it when I was chasing him. I just didn't see that he had dropped it on the road. So my offsider, she stopped with the shotgun at the time. So, yeah. And then, so get him arrested. We're like, oh, this is a pretty good job. How good's this? And work out who he is. And he lives around the corner. And we're like, some supervisors, he's a very switched on fella, just knew his stuff. And dog squad come, they have a track, but they track back to his house. It literally goes back to his house. So we rock up to the front door, bang, bang, bang on the front door, because there's supposed to be two. I can't remember how many there was, maybe three of them. Bang on the front door. Supervisors basically said, your son's just been arrested for armed robbery. We know they're here. Let us in. And they're like, playing. Oh, we don't know. We don't know. And he's like, you're going to let us in? And they're like, okay, come in. And they let us in. Walk in, and then he's like, where are they? And the bloke was just being coy, just not giving us anything. But anyway, it's come quite clear they were in the garage. So I remember standing there, which I look back now, I'm like, this nearly becomes a high-risk job, armed offenders.
Yeah.
But at the time, you're like, let's go. And so the dog squad bloke's at the door, supervisor's there, and the dog squad bloke's just kicking this internal door in, kick it in. I think he let the dog go. And there's a bloke in bed and dog's getting on, and so he gets it's clearly he's sweating, they've just run back in there and hid in there. Well, we're missing one more offender, and so turn all the lights on, and they've been arrested and looking around, and supervisor, there's a cupboard behind us, and he just casually opens it and there's a bloke hiding in the cupboard, and it was quite funny. He goes, "Hey, hello, possum, jump out here for us, mate!" Like, and he was a bit of a smart ass, but he was just funny, and so they all got wrapped up, and it was one of those jobs where you're like, this is what I joined the cops for, like, stuff like this. Like,
I can't believe they ran back home though.
Yeah, I know.
Like, there's got to be a different staging area.
I know.
You don't shit where you sleep.
I know, and he's caught him on bail. Like, it's just obvious, right? Like, it's but yeah, so that was a cool job, and that kind of, those sort of things keep you going. Like, you know, the mundane, the everyday kind of policing work, kind of like, okay, yeah, you're sort of like a mobile report taker essentially. But when jobs like that kind of happen, it gets you fired up again. Like, and you're like, oh yes, like, get some more.
At what stage at a job like that is where does it turn into a high risk job?
Yeah.
I guess when you guys call it on the ground, but you're like, fuck it, we're going in.
Yeah.
Let's deal with it.
Yeah, it was pretty much a decision that, like, supervisor's just like, okay, we're going in.
Yeah.
If we had stood back and went, we didn't know that they were armed. Like, we'd obviously recovered a shotgun, so we don't know if there's. So it was just a decision he made on the ground, which
fuck yeah,
like
you should do
with it. Yeah, like it was just sort of cool. Let's do it. Like, someone actually made a decision. Let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So luckily, no one's hurt or anything. Like, if something happened, then there might be some criticism or whatever. But
that's policing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. There's an inherent risk with everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to wake up TOU. They're sleeping in their beds.
Oh, yeah, they would have been asleep and be like, what? But, it was all good. It was all, and I think, detectives and everyone was recalled, and they all got hours and hours of overtime. And
everyone benefits.
They were high five because everyone's wrapped up. There's no work for them to do besides type it up, basically. Yeah. So they were stoked.
Yeah,
and
dog got a bite.
Yeah. So it all worked out well. That was cool. That was good.
Yeah, right. So obviously this spikes at that adrenaline, that TOU thought.
Yep.
You're seeing in the back of your brain. You can see all these cool operators, and you've just got to do something that kind of felt like, fuck, this is policing. This is LAPD shit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
This is Will Smith shit.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So you apply for TOU. So I'm guessing they put out an email, like an internal email, and say there's obviously positions available.
They often will, like, even on the computer, there's obviously a statewide computer system, and sometimes I'll put up like on your lock screen, goes across all of them, like, TOU info day coming up, or any branch, like any unit can do it. Like, if they're looking to recruit, they just
blanket. Yep.
Yeah. And everyone can go, oh, yeah, I'm interested in forensics or, whatever. So I knew that there was a selection coming up. However, I still had tenure so you got 3 years of tenure when you first sign up to Flemington. So, but selection was still inside my tenure, but there was a potential transfer date, which was still just within, but it was like within a couple of weeks. So it becomes like a little negotiation thing if you make it, that whether TOU can sort out, or the command's happy to release me. But there's obviously a lot of work to go into prior to getting to that stage. But so myself and my mate were like, yeah, and so I probably had a good. You join the cops and then you get caught up in the team drinks and like having a good time and drinking a lot. And so when I knew that was coming up, I kind of went I'm going to do this. And like I didn't start off on a particularly high fitness level. Like it was when I committed to training, I could maybe do one chin up or something. Like I wasn't, definitely not setting the world on fire, but we committed to it, and I stopped drinking, and it's probably a good 6 months of just hard working, hard training, pack marching, getting up to that what we thought might have been the standard. And they put out like a training package and of what you should be doing. So we kind of stuck to that a lot. So they put out and then they have an info day where you come in and sit down and they talk about what TOU do and all that sort of jazz. And I mean, even that's at the time was kind of intimidating enough. You're like, boys are standing up talking, and you're kind of like, okay, yep, no worries. Like, and you go away and do your own work, and the onus is on you to sort of make sure that you're good to go. So, so I was lucky enough. I put in a report to do selection, and they said, yeah, the only drama's the tenure issue, and but we'll discuss that if and when if you manage to get through or not. If it didn't, then there's no harm. Like, go back to your command and keep going. So I don't even remember when the selection was. It was cold. I know that. It was so it would have been it started 2010, so it would have been 2009.
And how long is this selection?
It's like six or 7 days. I go down on a Sunday, and the last day's like the admin, like packing stuff up. Yep. Yes, you're in, you're out, blah blah blah. And I can't remember if we come back on the Sunday or what it was. It's around that 6th day, I think. So, and that was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. Like, I'd never gone through anything like that, but I loved it also. Like, it was just more of because I had in my mind, I'm going to do TOU. I want to do it. So I wanted it so badly. And I think if I didn't want it as bad, I would have probably pulled the pin, because there's times when you're exhausted and you're getting yelled and screamed at, and you're just like, I don't need this. Like, yeah. Like, and there was a few blokes that just didn't get up in the mornings.
How many blokes you start with? Just hold on a second.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, perfect. How many blokes you start with?
I think around. Again, someone might pipe up and say, no, that was this many. But I think it was around 30 odd, I think.
All walks of life as well?
Yeah.
Any women? Were they allowed? Not allowed?
No, women have always been allowed to do it. It's just they never – the physical standards are very hard. And don't get me wrong, there are some chicks out there that are amazing and could – smash us all over the park with that. But it's there's pack marching, there's a lot of carrying load, like which for me was okay, because obviously being a bit bigger, a bigger, heavier load's not as bad as someone that's a bit slight and smaller. So I think that's where the struggle is.
Yeah, I've never really asked that question before. I didn't know, because
they have had
back then for the infantry or the army, like obviously women weren't allowed to join the combat arms.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. It's I don't believe it's ever been It's just that there never was.
Has it ever been any? Is there any in there now or ever?
No, not at the TOU. I think there was a couple of women that tried for tours, which is the old SBSU.
Yeah.
It's called tours now.
That's just the part-time
stuff.
Then places like all the regional areas.
Anywhere out of Sydney Metro, basically. Yep. So, they all have like a part-time units that come together. So I think there was a few that have done selection and did quite well. They outlasted a fair few blokes. So I think it was the low, like carrying like pack marching and stretchers, and might have brought them unstuck. I haven't been across it for a little while, so it could be different.
If there's anyone out there that knows,
I believe
reach out to me.
The one of the teams in New Zealand might have a female operator in there, and there's probably more now. I've been out of the loop for a little bit now, so but it's whilst not impossible, just probably a bit harder for the girls, just within terms of what's physically required.
We'll leave it at that, mate, because it can open a can of worms.
Oh yeah, hey, I mean, like some of these are super impressive, and it's just
some beasts out there.
Yeah, and it's like, I think, because there was a push at one point that each unit had to have a certain percentage of females in it, and it's one, like say with TOU, I'll talk from experience, it's one, okay, there's got to be a certain percentage of them in the cops that are that fit, and two, they've got to want to do that. Like, just because they're fit doesn't necessarily mean they want to do tactical jobs. They probably just have their own. Like, so the pool gets sort of shrunken down a lot. But it's full credit to them if they.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Like, it's a challenge.
Yeah. Anyone right for the job, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's right. Like, I don't think anyone would have an issue with it. Like, if you've proven yourself to do it and you're good on the tools, and that's all that really matters to you. So, yeah.
So you start with about 30 and 6-7 days.
Yeah, and
what do you break down? What do you get down to at the end?
I think we finished with 10. I think so. It was 30 started around 30, give or take 1 or 2. I think 10 finished, and 4 of us got selected.
4.
Yeah. So, and that was a proud time too. Like,
how do they do it? They line you all up, go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, put your hand up if you're in, not you. No, no, it's you do your time, you do your selection course, and then you finish up. And I won't give away what happens at the end because some people may be looking to go through it. And so then the next day is essentially pack up, and it was basically parade at the academy at whatever time it was, like 9 o'clock in the morning, and they had just set up a room within there, and basically we all just sat out the front, and then they'd come out and call your name, and you'd walk in and then sit down. And
another little interview type thing.
Yeah, there was like 3 of them.
The last one.
Yeah, like at the time I didn't know them, but I come to know them when I did get in, and they're sitting there. And I remember one of the fellas, he goes, he said something about tattoos because I got a stupid armband tattoo, and they were calling it my Pamela Anderson tattoo. And he's like, I don't know if we can have anyone with shit tattoos in this unit, like any more shit tattoos in this unit. And I was like, I'm sort of just like, your stuff. And they were just taking the mickey a little bit, and then they sort of, congratulations, you've been selected. And I don't think I could wipe a smile off my face. I'm like, thank you, and walked out. But then it was so hard because we literally go back outside, and then there's the blokes that hadn't been selected, and they're kicking stones, and everyone's physically stuffed. Like I was obviously very like the fittest I'd been for a long time when I went on selection, and I think I lost 4 kilos in that week just from constant running around, moving. So I looked a bit like I had AIDS, I think, at the end. Like I was just so gaunt, and so everyone's knackered, and then the people that, so it was hard because you wanted to jump up and down and high five all the boys that got in, and then the other boys that didn't, you kind of consoling them a little bit. And so, but we all, there's a bit of a tradition, I don't know if they still do it or not, but as you head out of Auburn on the way back up to Sydney, I think it's at Barul, and there's KFC and all that.
Yeah, another one you talking about.
It was all
Shell Servo.
Yeah, so we stopped at Dirty Bird there and had a massive feed because we hadn't had anything like that for the week, and we're obviously calorie deficient, so everyone smashed a bit of KFC, and then we head back up there, go back home. But I was like, it was amazing at that time. But the night we finished selection, I remember, so I was that stuffed. I was just like, I don't care if I don't get selected. Like, I'm just proud that I finished that or got through it. And the next morning I woke up and I was like, no, I want to get selected. Like, I don't want to walk away.
I can't do this again.
Yeah. So,
can you get another shot if you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It depends on your, like, there may be a, like if they see something in you, or there's something they want you to work on, or something they might say, go away, come back, work on this, and this, and come back next year. Or they definitely do say, if there's something that particularly they don't want, or they'll say, not to apply again.
Yeah.
So it depends. They obviously see something or a character trait that they want or they don't want. So I think a few people have had a couple of cracks at it, and credit to them because it's a big commitment, like to one, prepare yourself and go through that. Like it's
it's a long 7 days.
Yeah, and I know it doesn't sound much. Like you go 7 days. Like I don't know, like the SF dudes do a month at a time, and whatever it is, it's massive. But the intensity's up there.
Slog,
yeah. Like it's just and the constant pressure and
berating.
Yeah, berating. Like, I do have one funny story. So I'd done the push bike course around the same time as
did
LSG.
you?
Yeah,
Push
so
bike
me and my same mate that did the LSG, we were just looking for any reason to get on the courses and
just do everything.
Yeah, like why not? Like
even if it is a piss take.
Yeah. Like, and I'm like, this is weird. Like, you got to learn how to ride a push bike, but it's actually not a bad course, I suppose. Like, anyway, and it was good when we got back to the state because we'd just jump on bikes. It was like 21 Jump Street, you know, they're riding around, and we just go cruising around, riding around, like yahooing, and it was fun. But so obviously you got to put in your little report when you submit it, saying I've done this and this and this, and we'd been doing a rehab session, I think, or going to a rehab session in the pool on one of the mornings, and one of the fellas called my name and he goes, stand up. He goes, you've done that bike course, haven't you? I'm like, yeah, staff. And he goes, can you show us that move that you do when you want to when tell someone to get back? And it's kind of like you pick up the handle and use the front of the wheel and like get back, and you scream at them.
Oh,
like,
dear.
Yeah, it's like in a ride situation.
Yeah.
And you use your bike as kind of like, and you're throwing the front wheel at them.
You need to show him.
Yeah. So he wanted me to like demo it on the bus. And so I'm doing it. And he goes, no, like properly. So I'm yelling like, get back, demoing this thing. And I don't know if the boys didn't like, you know, they were like trying not to laugh and then they just ripping into me about it. And, but that was all the extent I actually copped. Cause some blokes had put in their reports like, you know, I play for Swans and in the development team, all this sort of extra stuff, which I think that, you know, trying to say I'm fit and healthy, it just got used against them kind of thing. And there's always a rivalry between TOU and the PAWS unit. So a couple of those blokes that were on my course and they probably copped more than their fair share of sledging and criticism like while we're there. So it took the heat off blokes like me that just kind of, I've done the bike course and it's kind of not offensive to anybody. So I was definitely a grey man, I reckon. Like they always say, don't be the grey man, but I'm happy to be the grey man.
And it worked.
I snuck through in there. Yeah.
Show us the bike drill.
Oh, man.
I can only imagine it too.
It's hilarious. And I can imagine if I was the instructor doing that, they would have been pissed themselves laughing. Like,
yeah, no, yeah.
But
it's funny, like all the little stuff like that. I had one of my mates on multiple podcasts ago, a British guy, and he looks Pakistani.
Yeah.
Anyway, during training, they got him to stand up on the table like this is there's 300-400 soldiers around and scream out Mujahideen. And they made him do it like every morning for like 3 weeks straight.
Yeah, nice. I know. It's stuff like that. And like you can't make it up or but then I look back and go, that's funny. Like, it's good.
Yeah, right, mate. Now, from here, how long is it before you get your posting to the unit?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a delay with that. So we finished. Like it was. So I know it was cold. So it must have been June or July that we did selection. And we were supposed to start, I think, in the January the following year. So about 6 months, which would have put me right at the end of my tenure with Flemington LAC. But as we got closer to it, we got an email saying, I can't remember what it was, or the reasoning. I think there was like issues with numbers, and I think it's because there was only 4 of us. So they were going to run another selection and then sort of marry us up. Like put us through together. So we end up getting put back another few months. So I think we officially started on end of May was our first kind of you're here now. So I did a few more months at Flemo, which probably worked out all right because we had a couple of good jobs going. I got to do an OSG.
Yeah. I'm just reading that. So obviously this is kind of your first OSG deployment.
Yeah.
Auburn was turning it on. New Year's Eve 2009. And
yeah. So even the years before, there was dramas in and around Auburn, like Union Road, and I forget a couple of other streets, but there's some ongoing problems. But antisocial behaviour, fireworks, like
oh fuck yeah,
but it wasn't even just shooting them up in the sky. They were like, if cop cars come down there, they were shooting them at cop cars. Had a couple of bricks through cop car windows. Yeah, the year before they actually barricaded the end of the street, so full on, just no one's coming through and everything. And we were all, as cops up there, going, let's go get rid of this because it's a public street. You can't just do what you want. And it come all the way back from, I think, somewhere up at assistant commissioner level, and they said, no, don't go down there, leave them. And I remember thinking,
here we go again.
Yeah.
This seems to be a common theme.
Yeah, what? You can just do what you want, like barricade a street off and go nuts, and we're not going to do anything about it. And I was like, far out. So anyway, comes around to New Year's. So it builds up over the time. Like that week, it's really ramping up. Like just every night there's dramas and everything. So
sorry, what's this about? Is this?
I don't know what their problem was. Like I think it was just it's summertime, it's hot, and we're just looking
shortage
of
falafels.
Yeah, it might have been a shortage. Yeah, inflation, and so it was just I don't know. I think they were just looking to cause trouble, have fun from their end, and get amongst it, stir the cops up, and see what happens.
Yeah, right.
So build up. So we get deployed as OSG. So we go. So even the nights before, there's like little, skirmishes up and down the street, and it just obviously New Year's Eve's the big night, so it all culminates on that night, and so we go out in the Arvo, and our same boss was just like zero tolerance. If there's anybody for anything,
lock them up,
get them. Yep. Lock them up. And it worked out well because they'd put on heat. Obviously, everyone's working. It's New Year's Eve, so everyone's working. So we'd go down as OSG and detect an offence, grab someone, and a Jetty's truck would pull up, would chuck them in, and Jetty's would take them back and lock them up. So we were having a blast. Or it was just.
Oh, there's no paperwork for you guys.
No, not really. Yeah. So it was just like, let's go. And it was just up and down. Sort of made this one road really, like Union Road, I think it was. And it was just getting more and more full on as the afternoon went, and they were just giving it to us. Like we'd walk up and down the street, and they're just yelling and swearing at us, and we're like, oh. So they were of the misconception because they're on their front verandas, front yards, that we couldn't go in, but they're yelling abuse, carrying on. So they're committing an offence which can be heard from a public area. So we were just. Right, let's go. And there was one, we're all standing at the front. And there was a bit of tit for tat. Like they were giving it to us and we were giving it to them, and it was all happening. And this one bloke just reached over from somewhere in the crowd inside this yard, and he's just punched me right in the mouth. And he got me right in the mouth, and I've just gone, whoa, and I sort of reeled back, and then I've gone forward to grab him, but he was too quick, and he's hid behind people, and then the yard sort of sloped, so he's jumped onto a roof of a carport and onto another one and cracked off. So then I'm like, oh, that's it. Like, I'm seeing red. Like I've gone full red mist. Like I'm like, nah, and I'm like, who is he? And they're just giving it to us, and it just turned into this. And then someone else did. Someone of them spat at someone, and so one of the boys just kicked in the front gate. And these there was like an old woman there, and these cowards literally hid behind.
Of course they did.
This old woman, and we've just all funneled in, and people just getting skittled left, right, and centre, and because they didn't think we were going to come in. This is all in their front yard, and so they were dealt with and arrested, and a few of them dragged out and chucked into vans, and it, even though I'd just been punched in the mouth and I was spewing afterwards, I'm like, this is like, let's go, like we're here. This is what it's going to be like. Let's keep going, and there was people getting sprayed and everything. It was turning into carnage. Like it was just going and going and going. And so eventually it got to the point there's fireworks getting shot at us. And so eventually they recalled us back and said, get all your riot gear on. I was just like, this is like a dream come true. Like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, how good is this? So we all raced back and put on the full riot gear. And then we redeploy back down to the top of this road. So we had like a command post at the top. And I distinctly remember, we're all standing there in lines.
How many blokes?
Yeah, mostly blokes. There probably was a couple of the girls in there because they had couple of them. There was only like 2, but there was probably, would have been 20 odd of us, maybe more. Like, so we all lined up at the top of the road in those lines, and I distinctly remember there was a couple of dog handlers there, and looking down the hills, the street kind of went down a little bit, and it was just a sea of like fireworks, and it was just carnage, smoke, everything. Like, it's just like, wow. And I just remember this dog handler, and his dog's just going nuts, and he's walking between the lines, and we're all like banging the shields, going, "Let's go!" And the dog handler's like, "Let's fucking go!" Like, and everyone's just going, "Wow!" The energy was amazing. Like, and then it was just like, "Go!" And we just charged down the street, and anyone that was on the street just got whacked, bang, like just knocked over. They're shooting fireworks, bouncing off shields, and it was we essentially went through and cleared the street off from everybody, and it was so good. And apparently, I found out later that Paws at the full-time unit were actually at Hungry Jack's on Parramatta Road, sitting there waiting to be deployed.
Oh no,
it was sweet. Like, it was just like, yes, we got to do that. Like, they come in afterwards, but they didn't actually get to do too much.
Yeah,
but it was just like, I was just so glad that we actually got to do it. Like, and this one fella come up, and he must have got hit by a baton. He was on the street, and he come up to the command post, and he's like, "Oh, my arm's broken," and he was basically told, like, "Bugger off, mate. This ambo's for the cops, not for you. Like, beat it." Like, and I don't think I had any more dramas in the following years, because I left after that. But I don't know if I think it all sort of died off. But I was like,
it's just what they realised the cops weren't.
We're not mucking around anymore.
Yeah,
but I was stoked that we actually, because I knew I was leaving. And I knew I'd probably never get to do anything like that again. So I was just.
What did that assistant commissioner think?
I don't know.
Sitting back in their corner, where they should be shutting their mouths.
Yeah, I know they've
stick to your paperwork and piss off.
I know they've got a lot of political pressure and things like that, but I'm like, ultimately,
there's
someone, a group of people that are controlling the streets, and we're not doing anything about it. Yeah,
it's not Nigeria, it's not Lebanon.
Yeah, and that's sort of what it was getting like. It was just like, this is just a lawless
you can't do that in Australia.
zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Or kind of like that.
Yeah, in Portland.
Yeah.
That street they just blocked off.
It was sort of becoming that, where
over.
It was just like, you guys are going to do what you want. Like, it was like, we can't allow this. But so even as a constable, I'm like, this is not right. But anyway, I mean, I don't make the decisions, but it's,
there's some squeezes out there anyway.
Yeah.
That's how it is. Now, eventually, mate, you get your deployment, posting to the Tactical Operations Unit, mate. And how's that, mate, walking in? And how was the reception?
Yeah, to say I was nervous that first day was probably an understatement.
Because this time you're only walking in by yourself, pretty much, are you?
Pretty much, yeah. So we'll send an email. Everything's very formal, and we're given very clear instructions on where we were to parade and what dress we were to be in and all this sort of stuff. So it was full court uniform, parade outside.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, parade outside the TOU front office door at whatever time it was in the morning. And this is inside like a big police, I think everyone knows it's at the police centre there, and we're all standing there like braced up, ready to go, and there's people walking around doing their jobs, and it was just...
Was it just you 4 blokes on that same course? Or was it just multiple guys?
I think it was just us 4 at that point. No. Actually, a good question. I'm just trying to think. There might have been more, so that's why we got held up, because the other boys did their stuff, so they...
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so I think there would have been about maybe 10 of us then, I think. this is where my memory starts playing up. But
No, you're right,
it's anyway. So we're standing there nervous, and then they come out, and I don't remember what was said. And basically come in, and then so the first few shifts are basically in orientation, but because we had a fair while from selection to when we transferred over, they were pretty keen to test our fitness levels and make sure we hadn't just put the cue in the rack and dialed off. So it was pretty heavy PT to start with, and a few good sessions out at Wanda Sandhills, and that was particularly difficult session out there, and just sort of
down at Kurnell.
Yeah,
the beach.
Yeah, you know, like
we go full driving and stuff down there.
Yeah, and like I was probably my fittest then because I'd taken probably 2 months off because I knew that they basically like don't have any leave when you come here, like be ready to train. So I used a bit of leave before I transferred over, so I was training a couple of times a day and making sure that I was fit, ready to go. And those sandhills killed me. Like it was just I don't know, just being a bit bigger. And, oh man, that was and they kind of jazzed us up a little bit. They're like, "Oh, bring the footies, boys. We'll take them down." And we get out there, and I go, "Oh, do you want to grab the footy?" And they go, "No, it's all good. Leave it there." And then just smashed us for a couple of hours of running around there. But yeah.
So from there, you basically start your SWAT course, is what they call it.
Yep.
And what's that about? 6, 9, 10 months? Just different courses, is it?
Yeah.
I'm just referencing Brett's and Ben's.
Yeah.
And just
I think ideally, if you were to go back to back, it would be in that 6 to 8 month range, I suppose. But again, we did a couple of courses. We did our advanced handgun, and the weapons based courses, and then we were sort of paused because I think we lost a couple on the initial couple of courses just with skills and things like that.
didn't meet the requirements.
Yeah. And I was on the borderline at one point, obviously the standards for your handgun and stuff.
It's got to be.
So initially I struggled a fair bit with handgun. Like the other, you start with handgun, but you do. I know someone else has spoken about like your PTG shoot, and got to hit an A4 piece of paper at 10 meters in low light with your respirator on, and so that was all kind of like, here we go. And then obviously the standards are being set. So I was struggling a little bit with the pistol side of it, and then at some point it just clicked. I got there, but there was a few moments where I'm like, if I don't get this shoot, I'm looking at getting punted.
It's crazy with a pistol, isn't it? It just takes that one bit of hand movement, and it just clicks.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was just from a lack of experience, but it definitely was. But it just it was killing me. I'm like, this is going to be the reason.
Can't figure it out.
Yeah, and I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get it on there, but not enough rounds that I needed to. And I'd drop one or spew one off to the side, and I'm like, what's going on? But the pressure was high.
That's it.
Even, they say, "Oh, we're not putting pressure on you, just do it." And I'm like, but your own, your own internal pressure,
I can't
listen,
fuck
mate,
this
if you
up. I
don't,
can't fuck this up.
if you stuff this up, you
out.
are done. And everything that you've ever wanted is gone. And so there's just inherent pressure with it all. So, and it's a challenging time as well, just because you're constantly being assessed on everything, not just your skills, but your demeanour, your how you carry yourself. If they see something they don't like, they're just going to focus in on that and either fix that or get rid of you. So it was a stressful time, but it was also good. If that makes sense. I don't know if it can be two things at once, but the grind of the courses was a lot. But we were probably lucky because we had times when they go, okay, we're going to pause your courses and we're going to have another group catch up to yours, and then we'll all join up from there and then go. So we did our first initial set of courses, and then there was a good pause for a while, and then we all went into CQB and things like that, because it's hard to run those courses with small numbers because they need teams and set up teams and things like that. So, got dragged out for probably 12 months in the end, like with our courses, but that was with breaks, and they let us, you do your initial few courses and it kind of allows you to do certain things on jobs and basic stuff. So we'd get deployed on a few things. And so we get a little taste of how operationally it was being.
Oh, so you do some little jobs or
perimeter work essentially.
Like
we're qualified to do
a third party.
Yeah, it's essentially like being a pro.
Yeah,
Go out with an operator and go on the perimeter and stand there and do exactly what I tell you to do, and
just look cool for the cameras.
Yeah. So it was most of the time it was like I'll go jump through 3 backyards to get to this yard, and like you're like far out here. Like it's but it was cool. Like it was a good experience. Like and a lot of time on perimeters you end up getting a grab anyway, because blokes see you run out the front door and they crack off out the back and straight into blokes on the perimeter. So you get a few arrests here.
Yeah.
And there. And
what do you call them in the cops? Squirters or? No, they're LAP. I've watched SWAT TV shows. They call them rabbits.
Rabbits, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what we call them. Runner was, it's like, run a back door. And I think everyone quickly knew that the bloke's bolting. But that was pretty, like, the way that the unit runs that and sets that up is really good. Like, you quickly see the professionalism and how they run those sort of jobs. Like, the perimeter's in set, then the alpha team will come rolling in and sort that out. So it was good getting exposed to that sort of next level of planning and sort of professionalism with that, because GDs, like, you don't have time for that, so it's usually fly by the seat of your pants and you're running in.
Yeah,
and the next thing is carnage everywhere, and that. So this was all most of the time.
It's all planned,
very heavily planned. Yeah, do your own recce's, do all that sort of stuff, and
under the DA. Which we'll definitely talk about soon.
We'll get to that. Yeah. But for most times, very controlled. More for the search warrant sort of stuff, like vehicle intercepts and things like that.
Just quickly, in regards to your training, did they ever run you through any old scenarios like the Brett Pennell story, or any situations like that?
I'm sure they did. A lot of our training, you do your less than lethal training where you learn all about the different munitions for shotguns and things like that. And then there's also a heavy kind of knife intervention kind of stuff. So you literally go into a padded room, there'd be role players, and it was pretty full on. And a few of the boys were pretty good, grapplers and things like that. So even like as the instructors, so you'd go in and they just start toweling you up, like wrapping you up. And I remember when we did it, and one of the blokes he's actually taken my pistol out of my holster and shot me with it, like while we're wrestling on the ground and things like that. Like it was just, so obviously it's in training, so kind of like, oh, wow, okay, all right, we'll watch that. So it was good. Like it was pretty full on. Like it wasn't kind of like gently like, oh, stop, pause. It was, no, you're running, like we're doing it and you're getting jammed, and
train for the real deal.
Yeah, and you kind of got to. So well, you definitely have to. So it was kind of that nice. I enjoyed it because it was like, this is adult stuff. Like you're not being spoken to. Well, you are, but you're doing stuff that's pretty full on, and you're not getting coddled or. So do it, or if you get an injury, all right, we'll fix that up, and you're right to keep going, or what? Like, let's go. Like, so I enjoyed that aspect of it. It was just that kind of, I don't know, without sounding chauvinistic, it was like, this is man stuff. Like this is like serious, or we're doing it. So it was good.
Yeah, nice, mate. And up until August 2012, you're just getting called out multiple little jobs here and there, and
there's probably. I don't know how many deployments. It's hard we'd go through periods where you may not get a deployment for a week or maybe 2 weeks, and you're like getting around the office going, like, what the hell's going on? Like, and then all of a sudden, like, bang, 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 like, you get deployments, and then one that night, and then the next day, and it was just chaos. Like there was just people off everywhere. So yeah, if I was to look, there's so many cool like jobs that you do, and you're like, oh, that was good, that was cool. So, but yeah, vehicle intercepts, things like that would just pop up all the time. So
they're fun.
They were the best. I enjoyed them the most. And I think most of the boys kind of like those because it's pretty dynamic. It's a lot of adrenaline, a lot of, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
Because you're waiting on the crooks to do certain things whatever, so they don't work to our timeline.
Yeah.
But
and you guys are the only ones that can do the interdiction stuff, whereas obviously GDs are not allowed to.
Yeah, we haven't. Well, the TOU have an exemption from that part of the safe driver, but it is heavily controlled. It's only if
to an extent.
Yeah, we can't just cruise around and bump someone out of the way.
With the Bearcat.
Yeah. I think that's happened before though.
Yeah, I'm sure it has.
Yeah, like, oops, sorry about that. We'll sort that one out later. But we do have that, but we do a lot of training also.
Of course,
in all that sort of stuff. So it's not like we're
driver training, etc.
Yeah, and it takes a lot, like, for them to sort of trust you to drive and do that job. Like you have to prove yourself at some point, but if you're capable enough, then they'll give you a go. And if you can prove yourself, then you sort of just start doing it a bit more and more. Yeah,
right. Now, mate, obviously back to Kurnell. Not on the dunes this time. There was a siege in 2012.
Yes, yeah, yep. So
highly publicised on the media.
Yeah, it did make a bit of news after that. So yeah, I can't think of his name, but he's an older fella, probably well into his 50s, maybe a bit older. Obviously had some pretty significant mental health dramas going on, but anyway, he lived with his dad, who was obviously probably in his 80s, I suppose, and I'm not sure exactly how the nature of. I do. Just somehow he's got access to his dad's firearms that are in the house, so he's grabbed himself a shotgun, and he's got like an ammo belt basically with
like a bandolier.
Yeah, bandolier all the way around, full of shotgun rounds, and apparently he was walking up and down the street threatening people, yelling out. So then naturally police get called, and I believe. So it's hard because I wasn't there. So I believe GD's turned up and he essentially chased me out of the house, and they've retreated back behind the car and obviously sent the balloon up. This is a job, and he's gone back in the house. So we get deployed. So it was in the morning. It was sort of pretty early in the I don't know, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So maybe even earlier, and which is not overly common. Most the jobs seem to come in the afternoons or at night. It wasn't common that we'd do. Usually we get in coffee or something like that anyway. But anyway, we get deployed down there, and it was a little bit of a series of events. The coordinator at the time, I don't know what was going on. He was either dealing with something back at TOU, so he didn't get to the job at the same time as we did. So I was put on the Alpha team with the full team in the Bearcat, and so the team leader for the Alpha team had to act as the coordinator back at the command post. So then the sniper that was going to be up in the turret he was the next senior bloke, so he had to be the team leader. So then he's just nominated me to jump up and man the turret.
What's in the turret? Is there any gun up there?
No, just our. So I had my M4, which is.
I was just thinking there's maybe a 50 up there or something.
Yeah, I wish. No, nothing that cool. It's just it's just the metal plate. That we've got. So I jumped up in there and was sort of just kicking along. So the whole street's been cordoned off. There's GDs, there's us, and we're slowly getting numbers in and sort of backfilling positions and stuff like that. And he was just coming out, and so we're looking straight at the front of the house, and he's in the front bedroom, I guess, or could have even been a lounge room. I don't even know. And coming out, and he's got a shotgun in his hands, and then I don't even know how long we were there for. Be a little bit, and he's come out, and so we're all standing there. There's blokes outside the ARV, but up against it, kind of thing, and they're trying to negotiate with him. And he comes out, and he shotgun up in the air, and then just cracks one off, and it kind of goes up over our heads, sort of thing, and everyone sort of ducks. And I remember looking down, and one of the jetties blokes down the road, he's down in the gutter, like everyone's just going, Jesus Christ, like here we go. And so I was like, okay, well, this is getting serious now. Like it's, a lot of the time these things just peter out, or they get talked out, or we do an entry and it's not overly eventful. But so anyway, he's cracked a round off, and I was like, oh shit, okay, this is getting serious now. So it continued on for a while, and then he come back out again, and same sort of thing, like he's yelling and screaming, and bang, cracks one up, goes over the head again. And it's like, whoa, okay, like far out, like this is
a buckshot or something, is it?
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know what it was. Like, I'm assuming so. Like I'm assuming it's maybe birdshot or something like that. I don't know. But it was like, and in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna have to shoot this bloke. Like it just kept happening and happening. Like I don't know how many times he come out and shot actually, but you could feel it building up. Like it was just like, this is not good. And one of the boys, also the team leader then, because he's a sniper, he's got a slightly different rifle and different optics and things, and he just moved away from the ARV only a couple of meters to essentially a corner of a front fence, which is just really just a picket, just a picket fence, I think it was. And he's getting trying to get obs into the room, because he'd go away from the window and then not interact for a while, and so what's going on, like, and then so then he was there, and then so he's kneeling down behind the thing. I'm up in the turret, and old mate comes out. He doesn't have a gun this time, but he just leans out the window and he spots him kneeling, and he points directly at him and goes, "You're effing kidding. I can shoot kangaroos further than that." So obviously the hairs on the back of my neck start standing up, and I'm going, "This is not good." Like, so he ducks away from the window, and in my head,
him lined up as well.
So I've got my rifle up, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, get back to the ARV, get back to the ARV, get back to the ARV, because at least then he's got some sort of protection. And next thing, the barrel of the rifle just comes spewing out the window, and it's pointed down, and it's directly at him, like just, and there's yelling and screaming like, drop the gun, and then it was just bang, 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 bang. So the other operator fired, and I fired 3 times. And he immediately fell back into the room, but we lost obs on him. So I was, in my head just going, Jesus Christ, what have I just done? Like, what was that? Like, far out. I'd give anywhere to be not right here, right now, like standing here going, oh, Jesus.
Because this is the first time you find your rifle in anger.
Yeah, and the TOU hadn't actually shot anyone for a long time. Like before that, like I think it might have been either early might have been Brett Kurnell. Yeah. So I think that might have been the last one. So it was a fairly long time. So it was just like, oh no, like, instantly like, am I in the shit? Like, am I? You start like, I'm preparing myself. Like, I knew I was justified, but
of course.
You start thinking of everything. So I'm in my own head, rattling off my justifications and things like that. And by this time, and he'd fallen back in. So in my head, I'm like, we need to go in. Like, if this bloke is shot and he's alive and he's bleeding out and dies, this changes the whole thing. Like, it goes from a lower level critical incident to a
death in custody.
Yeah. Even though we haven't got him, but he's in our custody. Yeah. I know. I've heard you speak about that, and I agree with you. It's a bit loose with all that, but so a couple of hours went by, and it was trying to call him out, and And at some point they managed to get in touch with him, and he's like, I'm hurt, and said, oh, show us your injuries or something. And he puts his hands out the windows and he's shaking and just covered in blood. And he goes back in and goes quiet for a little bit longer. And by this time, there was the other boys were training out, I think, at Holsworthy doing some stuff. So they'd been redeployed to come. And I'd been relieved out of my position because I like, jump down, mate, like, come down. And so I'm sitting there just going, so I'm, you know, you later find out the president, but I was just sitting there taking notes, like, who said what, like, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just writing in my notebook while I'm in the back of the ARV, like, oh God, here we go, like, and because there's all the critical, whilst it's still, it's the situation hasn't been resolved, it's still a critical incident, so it's weird, but so I'm trying to do my thing, and then the boys come, they end up doing a clearance going in, and he was still alive, just badly injured. So I think he got shot in both hands and up the shoulder, into the shoulder. So I think what happened was when he was pointing out the window, it's either myself or the other one, or both, combination of both. They did ballistic testing. They said we both hit him. It just wasn't clear who did what. And sort of hit him up. I think it went in through his hand, sort of blew a big hole in his hand. I think he ended up losing a couple of fingers and on one hand and one or two fingers on the other, and got him in the shoulder as well. But it's the old, you know, you're staring at the gun, and that's what got hit. Basically, his hands on the shotgun. So that all got wrapped up and straight into, all right, get your kid off, separate.
Drug testing, all that shit.
I think we went back to
you gotta separate you two guys.
It's kind of it's hard because like they can offer you support and things, but they can't. You're not supposed to talk about exactly
the
what
incident.
So which, you know, it was pretty clear what happened, and it ended up being caught on camera essentially. Like there's all footage of it. Well, you could hear the boom, 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 like, but you can hear everything. Like, police, put it down. And he just didn't want to do it. So anyway, he ended up living. So I don't know what he's doing now, but he's not pointing guns at cops anymore. Is he? Hopefully he won't be doing that again. But and I was straight into that. You know, I think I got taken back by two female detectives to the station, and then that become a thing because they got there and then their Eris machine, which is the recording machine, wasn't working. So then I got taken to King's Cross Station, and it's kind of like, you know, and it's no criticism of them. They're trying to do their job, and they were lovely about it. They weren't giving me any grief or anything like that, but you're getting led, you know, end up getting led through King's Cross Detective's office into an Eris room, and you can't help but feel like a criminal, right? Like, you know, and by then, one of the inspectors from TOU, he come and sat with me in the Eris as support person kind of thing, and you know, never been through anything like that, so it was a little bit daunting, but you know, I got through all that, and there was it all got investigated, and you know, there's no dramas from the police. Like it was all it was all justified, and
bloke with a fucking shotgun.
Aiming at police, I thought he's about to, you know,
that's not enough.
Shoot.
Crazy how extensive there. But I guess there's reasons for it.
I get the whole process, right? But you can't help but feel like you've done something
like
wrong.
Alienated.
And it's very very daunting, especially if you haven't been through anything like that before. It's a bit like, oh God, like what are they saying? Like what's the outcome of this going to be? But you know, it all worked out for the best, and he's alive, and hopefully he's got the help he needs, and but yeah, it's sort of that sort of stuff sticks with you a little bit, like, you know, you sort of. But that was my first real serious kind of. Yeah,
and obviously moving forward to 2022, you're awarded the Commissioner's Award for Valour.
Yeah,
for this.
Yeah, which is I was
10
on,
years after the fact.
Yeah, 10 years later. But, I was very honoured to receive that. I don't know if, I particularly think that, the Valor Award is what I should have got. Like, I did think for a long time, I'm like, it's weird that nothing ever has come of that. Like, I'm not expecting an award, but there was not even anything on we have a SAP system where it's usually like, we'll give you a commander's commendation or something like that. There's just never anything about it. I'm like, I never brought it up to anybody or said anything. It was just like, it's weird that just kind of got swept away. Like it just
stopped.
You can get a commendation for being polite to someone out in the street or whatever, like it was just like, oh, that's weird. But anyway, yeah, so I'd actually had exited the police when I got notified that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So
they just sent it in the mail?
It's someone from the local area got in touch and said, are you willing to come to this awards day? We've got
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, got an award for you that you should be proud to have. And
yeah, right.
So yeah, it was all sort of.
The Australian Army should take note there. They sent out. I did Operation Relex, bit of border security. Anyway, I got a medal for it, Operation Service Medal.
Yeah.
Australia Post dropped it off.
Oh, that's nice,
dude.
Yeah.
Japinder's knocking at the door.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm like, sign for this. I'm like, yeah, sign for this. Open up. I'm like, fucking hell.
You beauty, thanks.
Thanks, Australian Army. Thanks for just like presenting it to me through Japinder and Australia Post.
Yeah, that's It's funny because I know the Army do a lot of things right.
Yeah.
But I and a lot of it was probably just when I actually looked at the award, it was signed off like 2 years prior or something like that.
It's funny how it took so long though.
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know why. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was because of this other thing that like held things up, or they were like, oh, hang on a minute, like, and because I was discharged from the police, whether that held things up or not.
Still 10 years, like maybe 2 or 3 years after the fact, maybe.
Yeah, like
10 years, you're like, oh, far out.
Yeah.
It's finally just popped up on someone's desk and gone, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Thought I forgot to put this in.
That's right. There was a file under someone's desk and they've gone, oh, we better get this one sorted out. I've been guilty of that before.
Yeah.
Too, but, it's like, I'm massively honoured to have it, but awesome. it was, in terms of the bravery side of it, like there's been a lot braver things done, which haven't been recognised. So it's kind of a bit like, oh, thank you, but it's like I don't know if it warranted that level. But someone's made that decision that it did, and anyway, well, I guess if they're going to give it to me, I'll take it. Yeah. So I do appreciate it.
Just during that, you said that the other team was off working at Holsworthy. Obviously, there's that relationship between TOU and TOU Commando.
Yep.
Especially more the Tactical Assault Group East. Did you ever do time out at Holsworthy and do a bit of training with TAG?
Yeah, limited. So when we do a lot of training out there, individual
using their facilities because
it's amazing. It's
top first class stuff out there.
It's great. Yeah. I think maybe initially it was like, I don't know if they might have been, the usual. See you later. Like, oh, thanks, but no thanks.
There's that rivalry, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and. Like I could see it from their perspective. They're like, these blokes are trying to.
Better anyway.
Yeah. That's right. I can see it from there, and they're probably just like, who are these blokes? Like, what are they trying to achieve? But I noticed the relationship seemed to get a lot better as I was there. Like, it slowly become more and more, and we do that Mars Olympics sort of stuff, and they were giving us more to do. And a couple of the blokes in TOU were Choco 1 Commando, I think it was.
Or had Fergo on.
I'm sure those blokes know him.
Yeah.
I don't know him personally, but there's a couple of sergeants, and one of the other fellas has been a long time doing it, so I'm sure they were all. So I think they were working on that relationship behind the scenes, just sort of developing that.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know what it's like now, but it got to the point where our blokes were a couple of blokes were doing rotations through.
Well, why
tag
wouldn't
east.
you? Because at that stage, especially back in 2012, tag were filled with blokes that have just nailed blokes in Afghanistan. Like,
yeah, that's right.
they were kicking down doors,
Yep.
and VCs were getting awarded, MGs are getting awarded. So like these guys were the real deal.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you?
That's right. Yeah.
Any bit of information on,
Yeah, it's funny because I ended up doing a bit of explosive training, breaching with them, and a few of their breaches and things like that. And I was a bit like, but once you get chatting to them, a lot of them are just young dudes anyway. Like, and I was like,
get on the piss.
Like you have this idea in your head of what they may or may not be, but they were more than accommodating and happy to, like, we were learning from them, and we were showing them a couple of things that we had done, and not that we breach anywhere near explosively anyway, what those boys were doing, but it was good. And it was breaking down those kind of barriers, I guess. And so I don't know what it's like now. I can assume that
I think it's better. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I think there's a couple of guys from X2 Commander that are operators now,
a fellow
were
across just as I was getting out of I instructed on one of his courses, and so I think there's that connection there, and so it's all kind of, I'd imagine it's much better than, but it wasn't bad when I was there. It was all working together, and I think they would help us out when they could, and do things. But I know there was always talk of trying to recruit from there over.
Why wouldn't you?
But
I think there's a couple of the states like Victoria and stuff had a bit of an easy process for guys. They didn't have to go GDs. They could go literally just transfer straight out of 2 Commander or SSR and go straight into the tactical teams.
Which it's they
do a bit of a bridging course, and
and that's, I know I think in New South Wales they do that for like prosecutors, like people with a legal degree, but they never did it for anyone with military background in that sense. And it was always like
a legal degree, is it?
Yeah, they were doing like a fast track process
into TOU.
No, so they could become prosecutors, right? So if you had
I was like, fuck, what are they doing here?
One of the boys actually did leave TOU to go do
law.
Yeah, become a prosecutor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's so they were doing that for that, but there was always talk like, how could we get more blokes? But it was hard. It's hard to ask someone from 2 Commander or Tag East to step away from army, and you just got to do 3 years of GDs first before you can.
Fuck that.
Like, no, thanks. Yeah. But you do need that experience as a cop in a way. But I don't know if it's as vital as. I'm sure there's ways around it. I'll go to a secondment for 6 weeks and get some experience doing that whilst you're doing that stuff. But anyways, that's not my concern. But you'd think that would be a natural progression for blokes who are interested in
probably is. Who knows? If someone knows that.
Yeah.
Now, mate, obviously after the shooting's all cleared, you're back into the stream of things.
Yeah. Back in the mix.
I know what blokes are like, and you walk around like, look at me.
Yeah. Not too bad, thanks.
When was the last time you fired your weapon?
Yeah. That kind of, you can't help it. You're just kind of like, but that office is very, like, even if you do something good, it's bad. Like they'll just take the piss out of you sort of thing. It was just, I never said too much about it or anything. I knew,
it comes up all the time.
Yeah. I knew certainly wasn't gloating about it. Like, I mean, using a firearm on, is not.
Yeah.
But there is that, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I've done that. Like, it was all good. Like, I didn't make a mistake. Like, it was all right. So,
it's funny because, like, go back to Brett Pinnell's podcast. Literally that night they were taking the piss out of him. There was that one guy that wrote that shit all over his bag.
Well, I can tell you the
exact
same thing, right? So the Kurnell one, I've literally just fired. I don't even know if I've come back onto safe yet, right? So it's just bang, bang, bang. So it's, I'm taking a few breaths in, going, oh my God. And
over the radio.
Nah, and one of the boys, and I'll tell you who it was later on, looks up at me from down under the Arv and just goes, "Can I have your locker?" as in like you've stuffed up. Can I have your locker when you go? Because lockers were like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like everyone's like, oh, I want that locker. It's big jewelry.
Army
or
was
whatever.
the same.
Yeah. Like
Army was the same. There was always these lockers.
Yeah, and in my head, I'm like, not now. Like, and I was filthy, right? And afterwards, I laughed about it, like, and have a laugh. But in my head, I'm like, shut up.
Straight away.
Yeah, but straight away, not even a thought about it. And I'm like, but that's what makes it so awesome. Or, you know, like it's, where else can you say that sort of shit and not have anyone carry on about it? Like, it was just funny. Like, and, but yeah, same sort of thing. Yeah. Like, you know, and his was probably even more serious at that point.
Yeah.
The bloke had passed away.
I know, yeah. And they're right on his bag there. There's that guy.
Yeah, like, yeah.
Everyone's going to walk around and say,
stuff
there's
like
that guy.
Yeah, I know. It's a
fuck.
weird dynamic, but
that humour's everywhere. That black humour is everywhere. It's just it's a coping mechanism as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a way to lighten the mood.
It is.
Like,
It is, especially for the person that's been involved. You're like, fuck.
Yeah. Like, you know, there's always someone always steps over the boundary, and you're like, oh. But blokes never took it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like you'd laugh it off, and
I'll take that logger.
you don't have a choice. Like, it's like you just got to deal with it, mate, or you can go sit in your room by yourself and be sad about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Now, mate, 2014, sorry.
Yep.
Attended the PTG course. What's PTG?
It's Police Tactical Group. I forget the actual.
Is that?
I think it's called ANZTC. So it's essentially a national. I think what Brett Pennell talked about, SACPAV. That's what it probably was used to have been called, but it's essentially just a national course. So each state territory sends blokes, snipers, team leaders, assaulters, breachers it's usually in between Perth and Sydney. So one year it's Perth, next year it might be at Holsworthy. And it's just essentially to try and get all these
everyone in sync with.
Because everyone operates slightly differently.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the SA blokes have different drills, or they do CQB differently to the Queensland blokes and things like that. So I think it's ultimately just to get everyone, you know, probably not going to get everyone operating exactly the same, but enough that we could, like, and it's happened, you know, our blokes go up to help the CERT blokes out, or up to NT when they've got stuff going on there short, to backfill them, and
of
so
course,
they can work in together. And
I think more recently that shooting up in Queensland, I think they had some guys from down here deploy up.
Yeah, okay.
I think.
Maybe. Maybe. So that's I think that's the sort of reason, and obviously skills enhanced, like
Is the military involved as well? Because obviously you're at Swanbourne.
Yeah.
Home of the.
Not really. I know on that particular course there was one of the instructors who was a police officer, because I don't know if he was ex-SAS or I don't know. Do they have a part-time element for that? Like I don't know. He had a background with SAS, and he was kind of and he was the breaching fella. So, and I went over as a breacher. So that was kind of. They were around and we did a few little tours and things like that, but they didn't necessarily have a direct role. Like, I'm sure they were probably just like, can you get out of our way, please? But that was good. Those facilities over there are amazing. Like, that was a good course. But,
and you were awarded the course student, which is the SOM.
Yeah, so student of merit for that one. Which was good. I didn't expect it. Like, it was, there's obviously, I don't know.
You get more shit out of it though.
Oh yeah. Well,
away.
you come back, you get like a plaque. And I come back in and they made me hold it above my head and oh, good job, mate. Oh yeah, you're so good. No, but like if you're like a couple of the sergeant, that so that's really good. Like, good job, but the blokes on the floor like to take the piss, but it was good. Like, I certainly wasn't going there for that reason. It was because a lot of pressure on that too. Like, there's a lot of build-up training, a lot of pressure to sort of perform when you get there. 'cause you don't want to let your state down in a way.
That-
You know, you don't want to
I
be
suppose,
that bloke.
yeah,
Everyone
it's the whole
goes,
New South Wales.
"Oh, that bloke from New South Wales
Yeah.
is rubbish," or, you know, but it was a good course. It was fun. And yeah, so that was a nice little touch at the end. But
Yeah, right. So this is May 2014. Now, 2014, defining year for you and the TOU.
Yep.
Again, I've had Ben on to share his story of the Lindt Cafe.
Yep.
December. This is where it all changes.
Yep.
And, mate, run us through this long day.
after that fateful day.
Yeah, fateful day.
Yeah, so yep, normal standard. I don't even know what day it was of the week. I think it might have been a Tuesday, or I don't know. It was just whatever it is, but it doesn't really matter. But rostered on to work, and we had some like shift training lined up. So most of our week would be scheduled with some sort of training. So we were out in sort of the inner west we just had sourced this facility to do a bit of like CQB, a couple of run through drills sort of thing, just doing a bit of training there, and did that, and we started doing that and done a couple of little run throughs and a little bit of jittering around and getting sorted. I was actually, this is not relevant to the story, but it was just kind of funny. We're having I don't know if a break or getting ready to go do a run through, and me and another fellow was just watching this spider skull drag this massive bug backwards up a brick wall, right? And we're just commenting on that, going, "Look at that! Like this bug was heaps bigger than a spider." Going, "That's amazing!" Like, just it's just stupid chit chat, like and one of the boys out there, his phone rings, and they said, "Oh, it was quickly pack up, and there's something going on in it." I didn't even know where the Lindt Cafe was. I didn't have a great familiar, like something's going on in town, in the city.
This is just reading the notes. 8:33, Monis enters the cafe.
Yeah, so it would have taken a little while with all his business. So yeah, it was probably about 9 o'clock in the morning, maybe something like that. Because obviously it takes a little while. He's got to do his thing, and then the balloon goes up and things like that. So 8:30, 9 o'clock or whatever it was. And I thought in my head, I'm thinking it's a hold up to
Just
start
like an
with.
arm hold up.
Yeah, because we're getting information and I was driving the emergency vehicle, which we have, carries our kit and stuff that usually goes with us wherever we go, so we can respond quickly to things. So I was just driving in town, getting directed basically where to go, and at that point it was started off, and I'm like, this sounds like a hold up, and then we'll get an info about he's holding up what they thought was an ISIS flag and things like that. So it was all sort of building up, and I was like, this is unusual. Like, these things don't necessarily happen. Again, in the early morning, like you don't associate that sort of thing. So it was just, we got in, started getting our stuff, but my rifle was still back at the SPC because there was so many blokes doing training. Because I know I was on the junior end of things, my rifle just didn't make it onto the truck. So getting all that kit and everything, and one of the sergeants starts, you go over here, like, start spreading around. So we start making our way around to where we were, which happened to be, for me, the Alpha team. And we basically just started forming up, and then as blokes were coming in and getting there, they were just getting their stuff and then start backfilling into positions. So who arrived at what time and things like that, I don't really remember. But essentially we set up, and we had our Alpha team set up, which is probably the one with all the footage, and most of this can be seen with it. And we were just sort of basically formed up. There's a little loading bay, probably 20 metres, I suppose, maybe from the shop there. And we initially set up, and we had a shield, and just getting all the gear sorted, and trying to establish basically what's what, and a couple of boys trying to get obs on and seeing what we could see, and just get some situational awareness of what's happening. So we started getting a little bit of info through, and a few that a couple of our boys, I think Ben was one of them, went up and had a look through the windows and trying to see. But it's funny because at no point did I ever see him. I never saw him once.
And where are you in this? So this in those photos you got the shield guy. He's basically resting his shield on a bloody milk crate.
Yeah, so we sort of knocked that up after quickly because I've holding a shield. We're like,
of course, yeah.
We're going to be here for a while, so let's grab what we can. So we set that up and was sort of stacked up. So that was basically where the Lindt Cafe stops and whatever that building is that backs onto it. We were sort of right there, so the boys were on the shield and they'd sort of creep forward and have a look and just see what they could see. But there's no point sending a whole team forward. Like they were just doing essentially a recce just to see what's going on in there, sort of thing. So they were doing that, and they'd come back and we just have a chat and see what's going on. And you're getting comms over the radio about developments and things that are so quickly sort of started building up to this is pretty serious. But even then in my head I'm like, oh, this will be resolved like they always do. Like they usually just either one get negotiated out or they get bored and I'm out, sort of thing. So in my head it still wasn't a huge deal. I'm like, okay, look, serious, but I'm sure this will be fine.
Because you've done multiple of
we've done so many deployments. All these
that have been resolved by just negotiation.
And even then, like I was, probably naive, but I'm like, oh, even if we did an entry, like you'll just get tased or we'll beanbag him or something like that, and usually that's how it resolves, right?
Is there any information given on who he is? Obviously, that comes out eventually.
Yeah, I
with
don't
the
know.
ISIS flag and all that type of stuff.
We knew about the flag and a lot of this stuff. I couldn't tell you exactly when and why, how we just either stuff would get dribbled out or the team leader was getting info and he's relaying it to us and saying this is what's happening. And so it went on for a few hours of just we're up and then getting to the point where we were like, okay, and then so we're like, all right, we'll collapse back into that sort of loading bay and maybe keep the shield up, or cause it's hard to physically keep that let's go all the time. So we sort of collapsed back into that so we could respond, but we could also sit down for a minute and this is where all the spoken about, but like so been there for hours. There's no water.
This is during the day.
This is during the day, like
summer,
and it's starting to drag on. Yeah, so it's like okay, like I need some
food.
Water would be good, or like food, yes, but that
water,
water ideally would be good because we're getting dry, right? Like you're wearing your full kit, and I don't know. I'm probably skipping over. There's probably a lot of things, so we'll probably be jumping forward and backward a little bit, but at some point after a few hours, call comes over and says, someone from Alpha come back to the command post and we've got water here. So I get nominated. Can you just run back and grab that crate of water? And I'm like, yep. And by then we're pretty hungry. It must have been past lunchtime. Like it was, so we hadn't eaten all day. We hadn't had any water. And so backs on to, is it New South Wales RSL? Or
something.
I can't remember which one it is. Yep. If it's Sydney RSL or New South Wales RSL, and we had to get through to where the command post was. I had to cut through there. So I distinctly remember this, and we're sort of getting the shits because we hadn't had anything, and not that we're prima donnas and we need to be fed, but it was like everyone's starting to struggle a bit. Like it's been hours. So I walk back through the RSL and I look in and there's cops everywhere in just, I don't know, I'm sure there was bosses, but there was just literally sitting in like lounge chairs and
were they
everything. And tables full of Subway, everything, right? And I remember just going,
You can't.
kidding.
Yeah.
You are fucking kidding me. Like,
You should have just grabbed them.
oh, yeah. I'm not necessarily confrontational, but I remember I would have had the filthiest look on my face, like, are you serious? Like, so I walk back and go get a crate of water and chuck it on my shoulder and walk back, and we get back and start handing them out, and everyone's like chugging these waters and stuff, and then the food issue still hadn't been resolved, and I think I can't remember what time it was, but at some point that afternoon, one of the boys cracked off. He's like, I've had enough of this slot, and walked off and found a door and helped himself. Turns out I think it was one of the attached office building or something like that, and it was I think it might have been a lawyer's office, I don't know, and went into their fridge and just grabbed out a whole heap of chocolates at, I don't know, it's their social club or something like that, and grabbed all those and brought them out, and so we're sitting there like munging on a little bit of chocolate or something just to keep you going. And it just kept going. Like, it just was on and on and on and on. And there was updates about, certain things, and there was, he had indicated there was bombs at other. So we got the intel that there's potentially or likely had a bomb in his back because they could see the bag. And it had wires, and that was the intel coming through. And then at some point in the afternoon, we're in that loading bay. Then all of a sudden, bang, like a couple of hostages have made a run for it, and they've come running out a door, which was near us. It's like an internal fire escape, I guess it would. And they popped out right near.
Was that the door that was chocked open?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think I don't know if we chocked that prior to that, or when they come out, we chocked it open because it was like, well, we've got an entry point.
Yeah.
Again, I'm happy to be corrected on that.
Yeah, I'm just mashing stories with Ben's.
Yeah. And so they've kind of popped out, and we're like, hey, what's going on? Like, and they've come running out, and so team leader and a couple of blokes, I haven't chat to them quickly, and then there was other like detectives and stuff standing behind us down the road, and I think we pushed them on down to there, so they had to go take them to be debriefed, and obviously they're probably a good source of intel and things like that, and I remember thinking, like, it's a pretty ballsy move to run, but then I'm like, it'd be conflicting, because you're running, but you're also leaving people behind. Like, it was just like, I wonder what. I remember thinking, like, what decision would I make there? Like, would I leave?
Oh, you thinking like?
Yeah, like you sort of start putting yourself in their shoes, like you're going.
But it's hard because you'd probably thinking, fuck, I'm going to grab a knife. I'm going to find something to
you start
take this guy on, because that's what we think naturally. We're just like, fuck this. Like,
you're like, sure, he can sneak up on this bloke, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like,
and you put like we could have.
Yeah.
Like it's.
But
But
not everyone has
your typical
that.
civvy or fucking Lindt Cafe bloody server. They've got not an inch of hostility in them.
No, and I remember looking at the blokes' faces, like, and it was
white.
pure terror. Like, they were just like, and it was just like, okay, like they're in full panic.
And this is at around 20 to 4.
Is that when they come? Yeah,
that's the first two.
Yeah. So the
barrister,
cool.
Some barrister.
Yeah,
probably where you stole the chocolates from.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah. So those, I think it was the two of them come running out and then I mean, you've probably got the timeline there. That's probably sparked my memory a little bit more.
Yeah, it sounded like those two run out the front door, and then there's one guy come out that side door.
Was it one guy?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
This is what Wikipedia is saying anyway.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was the two come out that side, because I know that someone else squirted off out the front as well. And I think that might have been when he started getting a bit angry, or
Did you just get any information or any intel from these first? Because Ben said there was nothing. Like, you guys were getting just minimal fucking shit.
Yeah, there was basically, besides when we initially got there, like, looks like he's got a bomb in his bag. He's got, they believe, a shotgun. Other than that, there wasn't a lot of info. It wasn't like, okay, it's just starting to make sense what's going on. It was, and keep in mind, like I hadn't even seen inside the cafe at all. Like hadn't even gotten through the windows to get a lay of the land or anything. So it was just kind of like really flying blind. Like,
Yeah, so just in regards, you never got a blueprint. Like, did you get like a bit of a blueprint?
I think eventually they kind of drew up like a mud map essentially, like
the DA.
Yeah. But I think this was prior to they got like a system now where you can send digitally things and it's like boom boom boom. But I don't think that was operating at that point. Like, so it's just kind of just relying on what's coming through the radio and trying to paint a mental picture in your head of what was going on in there, kind of thing. So, so that went on all afternoon. And by now, like, we're starting, like, everyone's getting, whilst you're not running around and carrying on, you start getting a little bit fatigued and a bit over it, like you're wearing your gear and you're just going, oh my God, like things start getting sore and it's like, what are we doing? What's happening here? Like it just sort of time sort of stood still kind of thing and it just went on and on and on. And there's different points where a couple of us would, you take your helmet off and sit down for a sec and try and stretch your back out and things like that. And, but we had no toilet facilities, no nothing. So like, it's not pleasant. Like blokes were having to piss into garbage bins and things like that, and just little things like that. Like it was all, but it just kind of kept ticking along, but it was just kind of like a whole ticking along with not much coming through. Like there might have been stuff going on behind the scenes, but we weren't necessarily privy. I know there was things going on behind the scenes, like
Subway eating and pizza and Yahooing. And
And then at some point, they started talking about developing a DA plan, so deliberate action. I'm sure most people would understand that. So one of the sergeants on another team was, because we were holding the EA essentially, so as Alpha we were holding that. So we had we developed a loose plan amongst ourselves what's going to happen. And then the other sergeant came up with a DA plan and that involved some sort of explosive entry through that door that had been chocked open, which led to another internal door in there. So I had another breacher on our team who was more senior to me. So he was tasked with going to make a explosive charge up. So I went with him to assist with doing that. He came up with it and made it, but I was just helping him out. So he made that charge and it was all ready to go. So in case we have to initiate the DA, then we're all prepped and ready to go. So we did that in our ops truck. I don't know, half an hour or so, like we're doing that, and then come back, and it was all sort of, it went on. Obviously, started getting. I didn't get dark obviously till late, so it would be summertime, so it's probably well after 8 o'clock before it's dark. But I don't recall any. There's just different times when people, or I don't know, is there anything on there? What time other people? Because I don't know if they started squirting out the doors.
But you had the two females escape around 4:58, so only an hour after the first three.
Yeah.
And that was it. There was only those 5, I think, that escaped.
But there was a lot of he was making demands of I think he wanted to get on and talk to, I don't know if it was the Prime Minister.
He wanted to talk to Tony Abbott.
Yeah.
Tony Abbott? Tony Abbott.
Something like that. And then he was making...
and they're like, no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And then I think he was making some of them, the hostages, make videos of some sort of things like that were going on. There was no real escalation per se of anything greatly at that time. It was all sort of... And still, even then, I'm like, this...
We'll get resolved.
Yeah. Like, if it's going to be a bit later, then so what. So I wasn't. I don't know if maybe because I didn't have all the info on that. Maybe I didn't fully grasp the whole. Like I knew it was a pretty unusual and significant situation, but I just didn't think it would get to there. Like that's just my own.
Did the information get to you guys eventually that it was this Monis guy that had these links and was, just a loose fucking cannon?
Yeah, at some point we become aware of that. Like obviously they're doing work behind the scenes and intel and working out who this bloke is and without knowing exactly when that come through, but yeah, we knew it enough that this bloke's off his chop sort of thing, like he's pretty serious. So that it sort of drifted on, and then it just it fell into nightfall, and it just sort of just continued on. Like he started making demands about
getting the lights shut off.
Which
they said no.
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah,
which is weird because you guys had night fighting equipment.
Yeah, so
doesn't that make sense? For you guys.
I don't know what the disadvantage would have been. Maybe it could have been a tactic by them to. Sometimes they'll. I'm not a negotiator, so I don't fully understand. But sometimes they'll do things to get a response. So maybe it's like, no, we're not doing that, to see if he goes, oh well, I want. So I don't know. So yeah.
But it would have been advantageous for you guys with NFE.
Yeah, I can't really see a disadvantage.
There is none. Like
you
own the night with night vision.
That's
on.
right. Like an mass our movement.
You're dressed in black and just
Yeah. So and which is what we,
like to do. Yeah.
I've been at jobs, even just at a house, like there's an outside light, we'll take the light out.
And run under night vision.
Yeah, or not even that. Like we'll just take the light out, so we're not silhouetting ourselves and
of course
things like that. So but so and then as it got darker and darker, then there was obviously there's so much that goes on, and then they started bringing out all we didn't have our NVGs with us because we left to do training in the daytime, and so they started
because you were there from say 9:30.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it's now dark, and they bring out our NVGs, and so we start mounting those and getting all set up for what I thought was going to be some sort of DA, I guess. So I'm thinking we'll wait till 2 or 3 in the morning. He might fall asleep.
Yeah.
We're going to sneak in and go from there.
Yeah.
But at some point, so the commander that DA that was developed was originally approved. It was, that's good. And I believe that plan was relayed to Commander Tag Easter and
through their advisors and signed off on.
Yes. So and that plan was run through at Holdsworthy by them.
Yep.
So like I know that's probably common, but there was a lot of that.
I think that DA is pretty hush.
Yeah.
But I may know someone that's I know all about it.
So it's I won't go into specifics of what the DA plan was.
Yeah.
However, people were always, I'm jumping ahead here, but they're commenting, the military should have been involved and, this and that. And they were there, they were liaising. So if it was going to be, essentially you break it down, it's one bloke in a room, in a building place.
As an advisor.
So if it was to be in a domestic situation, it was a house with a bloke with a hostage, we're more than capable of dealing with that. But so it was all, there was contact there and it was all hunky-dory, like, yep, cool. And then I think whoever that boss was that originally said, that plan's approved, he finished shift or was relieved, and I believe a new boss come on, and obviously they have to be briefed up and prepped for that. And he obviously had a different opinion, or I don't even know who it was. And the DA was, I I think, squashed essentially, like, because there's a lot of reluctance. I don't know the exact reason why it was canned or a no-go, but there's a lot of reluctance with explosive entries. I don't know. We would do demos for bosses on
and they
training
loved
and
it.
things
They
like
loved
that.
it, didn't they?
Loved it, but it was more to show we can
this is capability.
we can safely affect an entry. We're not going to blow everyone up in the room.
That's probably what they think.
Yeah, but I think that's the misconception. As soon as you say we want to explosively breach, they're like in a domestic situation, they're like, no way.
Yeah. They're thinking of Afghanistan.
Yeah,
500-pound bomb.
Yeah, boom. But everything's designed for,
breaching.
Yeah, and you're using
minimal.
The minimalist amounts of explosive to affect the entry, right? So it's inherently safer than having some bloke stand in front of the door with a chainsaw, whereas
or pumping a 12 gauge into it.
Yeah, like blowing the hinges
like
off.
You did.
Yeah. But what's more safe? You can run up, boom, stick a charge on the door, back up to somewhere safe, and blow it in at a time that's convenient, or have an operator stand in front of the door for God knows how long, trying to affect an entry.
Yeah.
With someone behind the door just going, boom.
And the thing is, these decisions were made by people that were not tactically trained, correct?
Yes. Correct.
Yes. So
yeah. So we can only advise, right?
Exactly.
Like, so even our coordinators and thing, they whilst they're their tactical commander, they're advising the operational commanders of like, yes, we can facilitate that, or I'm sure there's, hey boss, what do you reckon about we do this, this, and this, and they would be back and forth and yay or nay. But essentially, it comes down to the commander on the ground traditionally. But I get a sense that there was, because
multiple
of
layers.
Yeah, it wasn't just
which is
the commander on the ground. There was higher levels overseeing that going, no. It would have gone to the commish.
I think it did. It did go to the deputy commissioner, I believe. Yeah,
at the very least.
Yeah,
because such a high profile.
Which come out in the inquiry.
Yeah,
they basically said now moving forward, it has to be a tactical commander on the ground, tactical trained commander on the ground that makes decisions.
Yeah, so I think they run courses for the people at command level to do a tactical side of it. They're not
tactical,
TOU, but they have a tactical training, so they can go okay. But so it's like, where does it stop then? Like who's answering to who? So it's like traditionally, you'd be a ground, and then it's going up, and they go no. So it's kind of like this up and down thing. I imagine I wasn't privy to it, but I could just imagine how that was operating. Like, it was not the standard. That's how that does it. But
anyway, that's a debrief.
But I mean, also something like this hadn't happened before either, so it was kind of like, and I feel for I've always had sympathy for the people making those decisions, because couldn't be easy to, I know they're getting paid and that's their role, but they're making these decisions potentially to send cops to be killed, or so it's not an
easy thing, but there should be a level where someone should go, hang on, how about the fucking tactical officer in charge on the ground? Let's leave it up to him.
Yeah,
he's the one trained.
Yeah,
his guys are trained. Let's leave. That's where someone at top should have said that.
Yeah,
but that comes down the track anyway.
Yeah, and the tactical commanders that from our end, I think did a great job. There would have been so much pressure on them trying to facilitate that, coordinate that.
That's it. And the whole point of a DA is doing it under your terms.
That's right.
Not their terms, your terms.
That's right. Suits us.
Yeah.
Usually, obviously, with that element of surprise and things like that. But I was anticipating, I don't know, we might be doing some sort of distractions or something out the front, set off a charge or whatever, and we sneak in and go that way. But didn't happen. And, then it just continued on, and then it started getting, as the night got on, we started getting whispers and things that they were going to start to look at relieving us. So they started at this point, I believe, the feds from ACT had started making their way. I think some of the CERT boys had flown down, or I don't know if they flew or drove down. So we're getting backfilled from other states coming in to help us, and we started sort of, like, they might be looking at standing us down. And in our head, it was like, no way. Like,
We're not fucking moving.
Yeah, like, we're not standing here this long to be then relieved and then have some other state resolve this job.
Yeah.
Like, you could just imagine, right? Like, like your own sense of
Exactly.
Like, you're just like, no way. Like, this can't. Surely not. But I believe that was the plan. Like, was to
Because I was standing down at this stage as well. This is where they come over the command and they basically said, "Oh, we're shutting up shop for the night, and we're just gonna
basically we're just gonna wait it out. Yeah, and see what happens."
Which was obviously another mistake.
Yeah. But it's also a common. They're like, we'll just see what happens. But there's no DA in place. Then we're just kind of like, we're just babysitting at the moment. Like, we're just gonna sit here. So it
like just quickly, sorry, man, I don't mean to cut in all the time.
No, please.
Obviously, he's got the Shahada flag up. Doesn't that change the concept of what's happening here? For you guys, like, it's not your normal fucking
I think
siege. This kind of, and obviously at this stage, 2014, the offensive in Iraq has already kicked off. So ISIS are in full fucking swing and turning it on.
Yeah. I'll confidently say everyone was fully aware of that, and like, this is serious. And the bomb thing, I know people go, "Oh, there's no bomb,"
but you don't know that until you're in there.
Even when the some of the hostages came out, they're saying he's got a bomb on his back, and that's getting relayed to us. So
it's credible intelligence.
There was no reason to say there isn't.
Yeah.
So we all knew how serious it was. I still, however, thought something's going to, like, I don't know, they're going to give him something and he'll be like, I don't know. I just thought he was just going to give up the ghost.
Again, yeah. Yeah. Because that's what you kind of were backed on used to.
Yeah.
In a way.
Generally, or like,
Did you ever come across IEDs before this? Was there any other scenarios where an IED was?
No.
So this is
nothing. Like, nothing
to that extent.
We've done training for stuff like
with
that.
With the Shahada flag.
Yeah.
No. Like 2 and 2?
Yeah. I know.
Red flag.
We done, we train heavily in all those, like, scenarios and things like that, but never, I don't think operationally. Not that I can recall anyway. There's probably has been jobs where something's been rigged up, but the worst we've had is like stuff put on the floor.
Yeah,
like to make it slippery or something, but which works.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare. But so I don't know. We get that sort of pretty much standing down but in place kind of thing, where it's sort of, and by then we're like stretching out, where everyone's hurting because it's now been, I don't know, 15 hours or something like that. Like, and
you just want to get in. You want to get
something to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like,
get the job done.
Yeah.
Save the hostages.
It goes from, okay, let's wait, to like, oh, come on. Like,
let's fucking do it. Let's fucking do it.
Like,
we're trained for this. Let's do
if
it.
we're not going to do it, then who's going to do it?
Yeah.
Like, and so, but then, so I know entry was, I don't know, 2:30 or something like that. Wasn't it?
So
like,
2:03, this is where he fires his first shotty round. And obviously you guys fucking pretty much snapped to at that stage going, boom.
Yeah.
Fuck, what was that?
Yeah. So we were getting sniper comms saying, they were relaying info through the windows, like, he's walking around, and then there was that initial shotgun round, which to us, obviously, we're on the outside the building, and the glass is quite thick, right? Like, so it's very muffled. It's almost sounded like just a door, boom, like. And initially, it was like, I think it was a big conversation, like, what was that? Was that a door slamming, or was that? What was that? So it wasn't obviously clear. And refresh my, is that the first one with Tori Johnson? Is that
No, so this is when those first 6 hostages they did a runner.
They did
throughout where your Team Bravo is what they call it? Team
on the
Bravo.
other side, yep, that's right.
Throughout that door.
Yep. So they made a run, and I think he's cracked a round up over there, or I don't know whether he's bad aim or what, but it didn't hit him, and they've bolted. So then we start getting, obviously, we've got people coming out, got people out, so obviously things jump alive. So we're getting squared away and ready to act, and then the timeline between shots and things, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
you've got it open. It could have been 30 seconds. It could have been 5 minutes. It's hard. Like it's hard to say when exactly things were happening. But I know that obviously people running and squirting is going to start ramping.
Yeah.
Things
So
up.
just to jog your memory.
Yeah.
So 203 fires that first shot. 211 he fires the second shot.
Yep.
This is where they hear because they placed in a listening device earlier in the day.
Yep. And
they hear him reloading the gun because it's only a 2 shot.
Yep.
And 214, that's where he's executed Tori.
Yep.
And so that's the time.
That's the
timeline. And then 4 minutes after that, 218, that's when you guys eventually make entry. But what are you guys thinking at 203 after you hear that first shot?
So the first one was a bit like
unsure.
Yeah, unsure. We were like, what was that? Like, and then obviously start getting
you figure it out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Like starting to ramp up a little bit. And then the next one, which was that was
211.
211.
He fires it towards the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then it's heard on the listening device that he's
reloading,
cracking the action.
Yeah.
And
so then we hear that other one and it's kind of like, okay, that's it.
Let's go.
This is
just waiting for the,
Yeah. So
you're rocking.
We're formed up. Yeah. And we're waiting for our code word basically, like, and then
Tiger.
Yeah. And it's building up, but nothing was happening, right? So, and we're standing there, and I guess everyone went through their own mental preparedness, right? Like, because prior to that, like, there's people have sent out talk of people sending things to their wives and girlfriends and stuff saying like, maybe it was goodbye or whatever. I don't know. I had been trying to I'd text my wife because we'd been married earlier that year and my wife was pregnant with our first kid. So I'd just been kind of like trying to downplay it. Like, we'll be okay. Like, it's all right. Just.
Did she know you in that stack?
I don't
to an extent.
Yeah. I don't know if she knew exactly
you were there.
Where I was, but she knew I was there. So I was just like,
don't watch news.
Yeah. Just go to bed. Don't worry about it. Like, she's pregnant. Like, you don't need, we'll be fine. It's going to be all right. So then it starts ramping up. There's that next shot and we're like, that's a shotgun. Like, that's going off. And you could, we're sort of standing there and it's funny that you say, because if you had said when that last shotgun round to when we went in, I wouldn't have picked. It was 3 minutes.
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Yes,
that is a fucking long time.
Yeah, and I don't know because your time perception.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Runs out, but like when that happened, like I was standing on the inside, so we obviously had come up with our plan on how we're going to effect entry, and mind you, I still hadn't seen the front doors, so I was about to breach these front doors. I never had seen them.
And you had a shot?
I had a shortened breaching shotgun and my pistol on my hip. So I was on the inside next to Shield Man, and then I don't know if it was Ben or I think it was Ben on the other side. And like that last round where we were like, that something's happening. Like this is not just, you could fit, like we were pulsing and I remember saying, and I think Ben even said something like, and I remember saying to shield fella, like, okay, we're fucking going. We're going, man. And he's like, I know. Like, and I've racked my shotgun, like, just to get it at action. And we're standing there, and it's just like 4 minutes now. When you say 4 minutes to me, is like, whoa, like
it feels long now.
Yeah, it feels so long. Like, and that is a long time between.
It is a fucking long time.
Yeah, so I don't know what the delay was there.
Because there was a couple of words within the team going, "What the fuck's going on? Like, why aren't we going?"
Yeah, and I believe there might have been, they did issue it, like, but it's within seconds, but like they did say it and didn't come across radio or whatever like that. But then, so I don't know. Everyone, you know, your world starts coming in, and I'm like, we're going. I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, this is it. Like, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to make it out of this now. Like, you know, with just the rounds going, knew he had a bomb. Like, if he's going to do it, he's going to do it as we come in, like, on entry. Like, and so we finally get the word, like, code word, like, tiger. And it's like almost like, I know it's been said before, but like, it's kind of like time stood still in a way.
Slows down.
Yeah, but it didn't. Like, I remember running. We've just gone boom. Kind of like letting the horses out of the gates, kind of thing. Like, it just felt like that. It felt like you were running real fast, and you know. But then it's just a weird. Your perceptions are so weird. And I remember hearing shotgun rounds, bang, bang, and I'm running those windows, and I thought he was firing, and I'm like, I'm going to get shot in the side of it because I'm running past these windows. And I was just picturing copping a shotgun round through the window. And I remember like tilting my head running like that. And the doors are at like I guess like a 45 to the street. It's like onto the corner, I guess. So I've pulled up on the inside there, and it's probably taken me a second just to grasp what I'm looking at. Like, it's like, wow. So I've just gone into the corner, discharged the shotty, and I don't know if at the same time he's fired or not, but it probably couldn't have been any better. Like, there is a certain angle that you can capture. The glass just falls out of like, perfectly. Like, it just, I know it's glass, but like both doors just boom, just drop straight down to the ground. Then obviously that adds a little layer of complexity on entry, right? So I've breached and I've tucked back up against the wall, which I'm still not out of the way, but the team start coming in, like stepping in front. So that's happening, and then there's just a volley of stunnies going, and obviously rounds being fired. He got, I think he fired got one shot off, and it was above the door, so above the entry door. Like, when we did later on, went through, there was like a hole up there. So so we've breached that, standing there, and next thing, the team leader who was there, he's flat on his back, and there's a man down call, like man down, which is pretty serious. Like, but you know, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen on entry. Like, you're in that funnel. But luckily, like, he did get shot with a pellet. Like, it wasn't a direct shot, but it was enough to knock him on his ass, flat on his back. Then he popped back up, thank God. And I remember looking into the room, and it was like, I don't know, you know, walk upstairs into a nightclub, and it's just flashing lights, like boom, 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 like. But the noise, I don't know what it was. It's like 17 stunnies that ended up being thrown or whatever. I don't recall hearing anything. Like, just remember seeing
sensory
flashes,
overload.
like boom, 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 just flashing lights, like just. And so I prepped a stunny, so I pulled the pin, and I thought, I'm going to deploy this, and then sort of as I'm about to, I'm quickly become evident that there was enough stunnies going off, which turned out to be the case. You know, like, there's plenty. So, but this all happened in a matter of, I don't know, second or a couple of seconds, really, because by the time I had gone, and like I remember turning back and saying, no more, like to, I think there's a couple of fellas behind me or next to me or something, like, no more. And then it all just sort of went, and the lights come on, like someone had obviously gone and flicked the lights. So I never saw him. I didn't see what Ben had done. I didn't know who had shot him in the end. The lights come on. The room is full of smoke. Like it's just, and it quickly goes into like so I did my walkthrough a couple of days after this, and even then I couldn't exactly recall what I did. So whether that's just the adrenaline but I've gone in. So I can only assume that I've pulled my stunny as I've gone in, because I didn't have a rifle or anything. So I've in behind everybody, like, so the boys did their work. And then next thing it's turned into, everyone's going everywhere. Obviously their Bravo team's clearing their sectors and stuff, but all the boys in front of me start moving off, and then they're screaming, there's yelling and everything carrying on. So I start, I've gone in and gone sort of to the left, and then, but one of the boys has grabbed, I don't even know who it was, one of the women, and I'm grabbed her by the leg just to give me a hand to hang out, and I looked in my hand, and my stunny's still in my hand. It's no pin, no nothing. And I remember looking at it going, like, what am I going to do with this? Yeah. Like, and I'm like, because I was a breacher, I had tape, and I'm like, I should just tape my hand up once I get outside, like, and I'm like, just don't cook it, like, don't keep. So I'm holding it as tight as I can. Take her outside, get out, and then as I go back in, I've still got this bloody stunny in my hand, and I'm like, usual training is just stunny away, turn around and throw it out behind you. But I didn't do that. I don't know why. I probably overloaded, like it was just a lot going on, and I'm like, got it, and I'm like, I can't do it now because it's going to scare the shit out of everybody. Like, but I remember looking into the room, and I know it wasn't the case, but it just looked like there would have been an inch across all the floor of blood. Like there was that much blood and glass on the floor. Like obviously Tori Johnson had been executed. So, and unbeknownst to me, Katrina Dawson was injured as well.
Yeah. But
it was one of those things. The image of her afterwards is probably what stuck with me for a long time. Because at one point, I think the boys were moving her and they're doing the best they can to sort of move her, and it was clear that she was dying, like she wasn't doing well. But it's straight away, instantly thought of my wife, because it was like she had the sort of blonde hair, similar build. Like, so, I was talking about earlier, like if something, and it just, like but like, at the time you, shake it off and you keep going, sort of do what you have to do. But down the track, that is what really kind of bothered me a lot. So anyway, the whole thing kind of calms to a degree. Like there's that much stuff all over the floor. I can't even describe it. Like it's thick, like just thick coagulated blood everywhere. I think everyone gets and then a landslide code word, which we're aware of, and a landslide is just, it's an emergency get out of that particular building.
Because of the IED.
Because of the IED thing that was given. So everyone got everybody out, and we essentially kind of out the front. We're out the front. I'm not sure. I think it was Katrina out the front. I'm not sure if it was Katrina or someone else that was injured. And one of the boys was yelling out for an ambo, but Stressy was like medic, yelling out, and the ambos come running up, and they did a really good job because the place hadn't been cleared yet. But they kind of jumped straight into it and got straight into still thought the explosive was there. Like they were just doing their thing, like trying to do CPR and fix all that up. So that, and I think I later one of the boys was actually, I don't know if he was ex-2 commander or 1 commander, but
Yeah,
left
he was.
and,
Yep.
yeah. So that's probably why he was so confident.
Just
of
onto
that.
it. Yeah.
Just let's go.
What do they call it? SAR? Not SAR? Is that what the?
I don't know.
Fuck, sorry, I had.
As in
the medics, the paramedics.
I think
they're called
they're called SOT.
SOT, that's
Special
it. Sorry, I
Operations
don't know what
Team or
SAR
something.
is.
They may be called something different now. But
it's like a special operations medic.
EMBO. Yeah. So they
which was attached to a TOU at some stages.
Later on,
I think they were getting onto it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they would always come with us on jobs, like they'd just be in the background. But now I think they're literally do rotations and they work out of there and run medical training and all that sort of jazz, which is awesome. Like, but they're all staged down on the other side of the building, and then it's just chaos after that. Like there's people coming out, there's people are starting to like police and stuff are sort of coming out in the street, and then I still got this.
You still got it in your hand.
In my hand, right? So it's calmed down now. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, all right, hang on. So I ran across the road and there's a drain. So I'm like, I'm going to throw it. I'm like, I'll stun you away or something like that. And I just threw it down in this drain in the street and it went bang, 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 bang. And I'm like, oh my God, I've just set the cat amongst the pigeons here. Like people are going to be shitting themselves. Like, anyway, I said, it's all me. That was just me. I just had to get rid of a stunny. Like, so it all sort of, nothing happened. There is, funnily enough, some footage of one of the coordinators it's hard to find. We happened to get a hold of it somewhere, and he was walking down, unbeknownst to him, down the street, and I've thrown it, and he's just jumped into this alcove, and then once he's realised it was nothing, sort of popped back out and strolled back down again. So it was quite funny, but it was a lot like that. That was like the whole thing, and even then, I still didn't really know what had happened. Like it wasn't until we sort of started walking back up to towards the RSL. Like they were saying, "All right, boys, we're going to have to get together." And I'm like, "Who got him?" And I think Ben was like, "Yeah, I got him." Like, I didn't know how many rounds.
Did you see Monis?
I saw him laying on the ground. And that was probably the first time
because he copped 7 or 8 rounds, I think, didn't he?
Yeah. But it was all like, it was more of a, because there's a body over here, there's injuries over here. So it was just kind of like scanning around, looking at what it was sort of quickly like, but so you imagine like he's been shot in the head a number of times. Tori Johnson was shot in the back of the head. There are other injuries. So like, it's hard to describe the scene to anybody, like, like just the level of
just carnage.
Yeah. You can train all you want.
Yeah.
You can't replicate that at all. Like it was very overwhelming kind of thing in a way, but you do your job, you fix it up and get out of there. And we were sort of ushered down into the basement of the RSL. Like it was like a gym area. And I think that's when it was kind of like everyone, you could just see everyone was like, what was that? What happened? Like it was just, when you don't anticipate it going that way, you just kind of like, what was that? And then obviously the news is on and the TV, it was all live. So we stood down there for a while, and then obviously homicide and the critical incident, people come in and then it becomes just a procedural thing. Like it's like, okay, we need to your name, you're taking off all our kit, who fired, who didn't. So all right, you boys over here. So you're getting stripped of all your kit, and they start accounting for all that, and and it was just like having been through a critical incident, I was like, okay, I wasn't too worried about this, I'm like, okay, I know the process, but still feels
Just
weird.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you feel like you've done something wrong in a way. Like, you know, again, nothing against them. Like, they're doing their job and they've got to do it professionally because they're being overseen by someone else as well. And you want it to be all above board. But it's like, how do you not talk about what the hell just happened? You know, like it's a weird thing. So I don't know. That took hours, like all the rigmarole after that, and we finally get taken back to the SPC to be mandatory drug testing, so like urine and breathalyzer and things like that. So that all gets done, and it's funny. Well, it's not funny actually, but I was standing in line, basically waiting to get my test, and I looked down at my bottom of my overalls, and I had this, like, I don't know what it is, but what it was, but it's this big chunk of flesh, like on the bottom of my overalls, and I'm like, oh, far out, like, and they're all like, so that's kind of like how much blood there was. Like, I'm not saying I stood deep in it, but like, you know, it's touching the bottom of my overalls that they're wet from blood, like, and there's flesh still on there, and I'm like, so I kind of, one of the investigators, I said, and so they took my overalls and boots off me. I mean, probably, I don't know. They both just DNA tested to see which one it was, but yeah, and so we did all that, and I don't know, it was probably 9:30 in the morning, I suppose, by the time all that was.
Yeah, so you're up 24 hours, pretty much.
Yeah, well, I mean, we started work at 7 a.m.
7, yeah.
So the day before, so you're up early travelling in, and like, so yeah, up for a day, I suppose. And then work had organised accommodation at one of the motels across the road. They're like, boys, there's rooms if you want to go sleep. But I was just like,
go home.
Yeah, I just want to go home. Like, go back to my own place. And so it was kind of like, all right, go get some rest. And I can't remember what, they didn't care. They were all very supportive, but like, I don't know if I had a shift it must have been the next day or whatever. So literally got changed I'd already taken off my overalls and surrendered those, and then got changed into my civvies and bag on and walked down to Central train station and jumped on a train and headed on the Western line back, back home. And I'm sitting there on the train by myself, and I'm heading away from the city, so most people are going into the city, but there's still a few people on the train, and people are talking about it. And
were they?
Yeah, like,
no idea that.
Yeah, and I'm just sort of just sitting there going, and that's when it sort of started to dawn on me, and I'm like, this is probably the most surreal moment of my life. Like, just a few hours ago,
you were there.
We're going in, and now I'm sitting on a train.
People are talking about it.
People are talking about it, and it's just like, I don't know. You don't. There's no real training for how you deal with that, and so yeah. And I get home, and so I said to my wife, like, go to work. Like, she's a teacher, and I said, just go to work. There's not much you can do. Like, we'll be fine. Like, I'll go home. I just need to get some sleep anyway. Like, and I got home, and it was just, again, it was kind of like, it was empty. It was just a weird feeling. And then I actually sat on the edge of the bed, and I think, like, I just went, like, I sort of let myself, I don't know, shed a few tears, like, for a minute, and just kind of went, man, like, this is unbelievable. Like, I don't know, there's just emotions in it. And then I laid down, and I think I just passed out, fell asleep, like, and I don't even know when I woke up or what, but, you have a couple of hours sleep, and then you're up, and it's like, it's all over the news. Like, like, because we weren't, whilst I knew that it's been, there's always going to be cameras and stuff, you don't sort of grasp the scale of
how
the
big
coverage.
It was massive.
Yeah, like, or, you know, the entry was kind of broadcast live
On every channel.
Like, so, you know, you go on and you think, like, that must have been horrific for people to watch. Like, because I remember being there and thinking, oh, I'm so glad I'm not a sniper right now because they're going to have to shoot this bloke. You know, like, they're going to have to do it. And I was talking to one of my mates who was one of the snipers, and he was saying the opposite, going, I'm so glad these boys are going to have to go in. Like, you know, like, it was just this weird kind of thing. But then, like you think, whilst we're there, you're kind of in it, right? Like, you go, okay, this happens. Like, but it's the, you know, your family and people your friends that are watching that going, like, am I going to watch everyone get killed, or like, that must be horrific. Like, you know, yeah. So, but that doesn't sort of dawn on you until maybe a bit later, where you're just like, far out. Look.
And this is, you know, I guess the first time for you guys losing hostages.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big fucking, because, you know, your job is to get in there and neutralize a threat, and that's it. That's how it's all your training and every mission is to save the life of the hostages, right? So we base training on that, to save the life of the hostages. And when you don't, you feel like you failed.
Yeah, like and it's regardless of whether we did things right or what, you still can't help it. Like, that could have gone differently. Like,
in regards to that, when you spoke to the snipers, obviously that was an option. Snipers taking the shot. For me and for the listeners, could have that been a shot? Could they have taken the shot?
I'm not snipery enough to know.
But I'm sure the talk between the snipers were saying, like, we could have fucking.
There's plenty of capable.
Could have ended this.
They're all more than capable.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Oh, no doubt.
There was at one point talk of potentially, I think, like, breaching, like, explosively breaching a window and then letting them take it on. But that takes that's
a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and the timing on that is,
it's got to be fucking
precise and accurate, and it's like, people go, oh, they should have just shot him through the window or whatever. I know this has been discussed a lot, but what if, like, you go through the glass, deflects and takes out a hostage, or it just injures him and he goes, and it starts killing everybody. The police are the worst in the world.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's a lot of what ifs, and it's hard. But those questions need to be asked, I suppose. Like, you know,
yeah, definitely.
We have to ask,
definitely.
It needs to be explored, but, you know, like, it's not like they were just there going, oh, I don't know if we can shoot through that or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, they worked it out. Like, we had our own plan in place. The snipers had their own plan in place, and the coordinators, they put their plans in place to sort everything out. Like, I'm sure if it could have been done safely and effectively, they would have given it some strong consideration. Like, everyone has opinions on whether it should have been or could have been done. There's lots of things that could have been done.
It's always easier in hindsight as well.
Yeah, we've got that benefit now. Like, but it's, I think, as long as, like, I mean, was it kind of 10 years now, I suppose. Like, which seems
next year.
Yeah, which seems weird to say. Like, next, so 9 years, but like, as long as there's lessons learned out of it, like, it's not a total. Like, I don't look at it as like it was a failure or anything. It's just you can't save everybody. Like, whilst we would love to, it's almost impossible. Like, if we had done a DA, who knows? Like, if we could have managed that or taken him out prior to that. But if we did, I bet you there would have been criticism.
Oh, no doubt.
You went in there and just killed him.
Yeah.
It's not like the army stuff with that, like, where it's like, good job. Like, there would have been somebody, some lawyer somewhere, or you know, going, you just killed that man. Like, he wasn't going to kill anybody, you know. So it's, what do you do? But that was the hard thing afterwards. Was initially it was all kind of like, the police did a good job, and it was like, okay, like, whilst everyone was sad and mourning the hostages. It's, there was that, okay, police did well. Like, they did what they could. It was good. And I felt like it quickly, as the days went on, and it kind of felt like it quickly turned. And
that's what the media do best.
Yeah, and it become a bit of a, like, we're going to just put shit on the cops.
Yeah.
Like,
again, that's what journos and media and that's what they do best.
Which was hard to take, right? Like, you can kind of block it out and go, oh, whatever. What do I care what some pen pusher down the road thinks? But you can't. You can read 99 positive comments and then you get one negative one. You're like,
it's always I get them all.
It sticks with you.
Yeah.
Like, I can imagine. That's a cesspool. The old.
I'm sure we'll get some. Yeah, we'll get some. This one.
There'll be someone telling me what I should have done, but
should have, could have, would have.
Yeah.
However,
ultimately, we were there. We did it. We did it the best we could, and everyone did it with a strong possibility that either we're going to be seriously injured or someone was going to be killed. Like, there was a high chance of that. So the boys need a lot of credit for that because they did it. There's no, I'm not doing that. I'm like, there was none of that. There was no, I'm not going in. Never once did anybody ever say, I'm not doing it. So, it takes a lot. And as time goes on, you're kind of like, okay, like, we need to be proud of that. And I'm sure everyone is, but, the negative side of it gets washed away a little bit because you're like, well, I don't know any one of these people but at the time, immediately after, it's hard because you're like, we just risked our lives and people are putting shit on us, and it's like, I feel like stick it, like,
fuck yeah.
Yeah, like, are you serious? Like, but everyone's entitled to their opinions, and
exactly.
That's, but I can't tell you how many times I've been told from people on, I don't know, just in general, once you get talking about it, like what they would have done.
Oh, I'll get the comments. Don't you worry. They'd be like, well, they should have got the SASR in. Like,
of course.
They're in Perth.
Yeah, I know.
Let's calm down for a second.
I know, and it's it's like, okay. But people don't have an idea of the processes and things like that, and like,
Yeah. Anyway, fuck that shit. I want to talk about that. It's.
Yeah, it was just part of it. And it
you guys did what you had to do.
Yeah, and it was the uncomfortable part of it. But, we get a lot of messages from blokes like in the military and overseas units and to commando and stuff, and like passing on their congratulations and good job. And so it's things like that you kind of go, okay, like, that made it better because if those boys are saying good job and you couldn't do much more, like, okay, that sort of, at least with people with experience and, the people that you look up to would be like, okay, that's
not the Call of Duty operators.
the airsofters from down the road. But, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
it is. As you said, 3 days later, you went back there.
Yeah.
Did you all go back there, or was it just you just went by yourself and just to reflect?
So they part of the inquest and stuff, but they like to do walkthroughs.
Talk through.
Yep. So I don't know if I was one of the first or one of the early couple to do it. Like, they were, and it might have been, I don't know how many days. It was like, I think it was like 3 days later. So, I mean, in the meantime, we'd had politicians and everyone come into the office and talk to us and things like that. But come time to...
Because Abbott come through, didn't he? And the Premier, Mike Baird.
Yeah. And we had Attorney General.
He shook all your hands and said, good job, guys.
Yeah,
well done.
Yeah, all that stuff, which is good, right? Like,
Prime Minister.
Yeah. But it was also those... And, I'm not sure if Ben mentioned this in his book, but the couple of days after when we're having these briefings, and they're calling, like, say, Alpha team come in, and it's kind of like a debrief, but here's a heads up on what's going on. And at this point, early on, we weren't sure how Katrina died, if she, like, the cause of that. And initially they said they don't think it was a police bullet. So I was like, okay, oh, thank God. And then I don't know if it was the next day or even that afternoon, it come back and it was like, we think it was a police round. And I remember kind of, and I hope Ben doesn't mind me talking about it, but, like, you know, him just sort of going, like, dropping his head, like, everyone just kind of went, oh, man, like, not, like, you know, because it's just, I can imagine the heaviness that has on him, like, you know, and it was, no one wanted to hear that, like, but it's, you know, like, I don't know how you deal with that. Like, you know, it's a weird thing to process and deal with, but, like, so that put a real heavy kind of feel across everything for that. It was just kind of like, oh, but it was definitely a whole change of feel in the office. Like, everyone was just kind of very mute, very kind of, you know, withdrawn. Like, everyone was doing what they can to support each other. Like, let's all go get coffee and do all that, and sort of rallied around each other. But there's only a certain much you can do until you go home or you're alone with your thoughts. Like, you know, and you have your psych things. They, you know, put you onto a psych and talk, and they come in and talk. But what are you going to say? Like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm okay. Because nobody wants to be taken off the tools, and, or you're not going to say, yeah, that was full on, and I don't know if I'm dealing. I don't, because you don't know. Like, you don't really know at the time. Like, you're like, I think I'm okay. Like, I feel like I probably should be a bit more upset maybe, or distraught, but
you're conditioned.
Yeah, but,
that's
like,
what training does as well. It conditions you.
And that's what I sort of realised as after I've left and things. Like, I mean, you spend a lot of time training, and everything you're training is to be calm, think critically, like, assess. So it's all kind of like, but then you kind of apply that in your normal life, and I think it kind of mutes you to, you're not feeling the highs, you're not, you know, you're not.
It alters your state of the emotions.
Yeah, but you don't get excited.
That's what I mean. Like, it's just
and you're going
a flat feel.
And that's even like TOU jobs. Like, you'd be like, standard TOU job. Like, most people would be like, that was amazing, and then you'd be like, oh, it's just a normal job. Like, and I think that has something to do with it. Like, you kind of, it's only my opinion. Like, you spend all this time being calm, being clinical in a way, and then when you come to process it, it's like, well, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I don't need to talk to you about that. Like, and it's hard because then you don't want to you're not going to talk to your partner and burden them with whatever. If anything pops up, you know, intrusive thoughts that pop in your head, or because you go, well, what are they going to think? Like,
did you talk with your wife about it? Just you know, not to the extent, but, you know, I was there. I was the guy.
Yeah, she knew my role.
Yeah.
And everything. And don't get me wrong, everyone was very supportive and, like, you know, did what they could to look after us. And my wife doesn't have any training in how to deal with that. Like, and all she can do is, like, be there, and that's probably all I needed from her. Like, but you're not going to necessarily unload every single thing that you thoughts or.
She's pregnant too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
her emotions are.
Yeah. Before all this, you know, like, but yeah, and so it's kind of like, and you don't know how to handle that. So that's the challenging part, I think, for people, and for the blokes that were there. Like, it's initially, oh, I'm fine. Like it's, yeah,
Let's crack on.
Yeah, it was a shit
Yeah.
job. Not good, but we'll be fine. And then I think that's probably where it starts to unravel over time, like it did for me anyway. Like down the track a little bit.
Yeah, it did for Ben.
Yeah.
Ended up-
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
I think you can put up a front, and it affects everybody different, right? Like I'm not saying everyone will go through this or whatever, but yeah, it took me a little while to sort of realise, and yeah,
Yeah, right, mate. So eventually you're just back to work, back into TOU, just doing
Yep.
the normal daily grind.
Yep.
Odd jobs here and there, just the regular. Nothing else to the extent of what happened at the cafe. However, in September 15, you transfer out of the TOU, head mid-north coast.
Yep.
Back to GDs.
yeah.
How's that, mate? Like,
That
what
was-
was the decision there? Like, was
Um,
it just a? Is this where it's starting to catch up?
Maybe,
Yeah.
but looking back, maybe like
Yeah.
like my wife and I discussed. Look, obviously she was pregnant at the time, so that also weighed heavily on me too. Like I'm like, cause I remember at the time, I'm like, this is that story. Like, I only get killed and she's pregnant. Like, far out. Like, man. So that sort of bothered me for a while, but we discussed like where we plan on having our family, like what are we going to do, and we sort of decided that we didn't really want to do it in Sydney, and trying to afford a house and things like that was a challenge, and we're just like, oh, let's have a look at other places, and it have like I said, we just went for a drive, and I actually met my wife in Port Macquarie, so we had that connection to.
Oh, so she's from there.
Yeah, pretty much. And so we had that in the back of the mind, like, oh, maybe we should have a look up there. And we went around and we settled back up. Like, I feel like this is somewhere where we'd be happy around here. So I thought, okay, yep, cool, we'll look at it. And we ended up sort of pretty quickly bought a house there. We thought we'll just rent it out until such time we make a decision, get a transfer. So we bought a house and sort of kept it there for a little bit, and I ended up doing up a transfer, and I thought this will take a while because it's not like you can just walk into like a North region spot. Like usually takes a fair bit, or you have to go out west for a fair while. So I thought, oh, this is going to be a while. And then jobs actually just come up, and I thought, okay, I put in for it. And I managed to get a spot there fairly quickly. So I was like, and I later found, I think there was some strings pulled on my behalf from either my unit's end or someone basically saying, let's look after him, I guess, like, which, I didn't ask for. It was kind of just, but I guess it's just how it works. My boss at the time said, oh, you can tell them that you got the job. They don't have to keep calling them. So there must have been someone calling up to get a spot. And then got in and started working up there. And that was a big change for me. Like when I left GDs, I was working on old cops. So the cops that are listening will probably understand what the old the old cop system was. And it had changed over to web cops while I was at the TOU, and we had no real need to use it that much besides maybe check significant events here and there. And so I had to learn the whole cop system again and how to charge people and do all this sort of stuff.
Oh, fuck, you forgot.
Yeah, well, it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's in the back of your mind, but it's a whole new computer system. It's
Yeah,
all new,
gotcha,
different. So
gotcha.
I was like almost like a pro again. Like the poor sergeant that I was working under must have been like, this bloke's a dud. Like, he doesn't even know what's going on. And but we're still doing the tactical stuff on the side. So it's a part-time scenario up there. And when I got there, we were actually doing a few jobs. So I was like, oh, this is all right. Like, I'm doing tactical and get deliver I need to, and we're doing jobs, and it's all right. But it dries up pretty quick. Like it's not the same as Sydney sort of thing. But yeah, and it was just after a while up there. I don't know whether it was the thought, like the removing myself from the TOU, and then I felt very isolated. Like, you know, when you're I thought I was going to be TOU forever, like an operator forever, and then now I'm not. So then that was probably part of where I sort of started struggling a bit. Like, and the boys down here are all sort of, you know, they're all getting sort of sorted and looked after with all that stuff, and they're in the loop and that. And then when you're up there, you're not. Like, and you stay in touch, but it drifts off a little bit, and which is totally fine. Like, it's what's going to happen, but you kind of feel, and that's my own doing. So I left. So you kind of get left out a little bit, and you're just not privy to everything, and it just sort of snowballed on me from a little bit there, like, and started like having dramas sleeping, and just, you know, it was going down a pretty bad path, to be honest. Like, just I could feel myself going, but I didn't want to accept it. Like,
Of course.
Yeah, you know, you're like, this is not happening to me. Like, I'm not, no way. Like, and I felt like I had that persona or image of myself where I'm like, okay, people knew that I come from the TOU when I went up there. So, like, if I go in there and I'm a basket case, they'd be like, what's going on here, sort of thing. So I felt like I had to sort of uphold that a little bit. And I'm terrible with expressing how I feel. Like, if my wife says, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. Like,
she'll be right.
Yeah, I don't know, I'll be fine. You know, and I'm still not that good at it.
I'm going to say, mate, nah, she'll be right.
Yeah, and I'm like, can't you just see that you know, like,
I just cut my knuckle.
Yeah.
Just cut my hand the other day and right down to the knuckle, and like, fuck, she'll be right.
Yeah.
Just Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Bit of super glue.
Yeah.
She'll be right.
I'll sort that one out later. Yeah. It's funny, hey? Like, but yeah, I mean, I don't know whether that's a bloke thing or if that's
I think
whatever.
That and your background. It's just,
yeah. So, anyway, I suck it up and go to work and do what I needed to do. And I could go to work and have a laugh and carry on, but it was more when I was getting home that I just, like, I knew it. I wasn't being a pleasant person to be around, or I'd be cranky and have the shits about something or whatever. But I could go to work and be fine. And it's like, you know, in your head, you're like, what am I doing? Like, the only people that are seeing what's going on is my family. Like, and they're the only ones that kind of matter. Like, you know, it's, and I know that's a common story. Like, it seems to be, like, you know, I hear a few other, and it seems to be the same sort of thing. Like, but I didn't do anything about it. I just thought this will pass. Like, you know, I'm just upset because I'm not at TOU anymore. Like, I'll be all right. But it just kept going and getting progressively worse, to the point where I couldn't sleep. I could come off a night shift and then I'd sleep like an hour or two in the morning. I'd be awake and then couldn't go back to sleep again, and then back to work. And it's just like this never-ending cycle of, I don't know, like, and then, you know, you're drinking a bit more, and it's just a slippery slope that you don't really know how to get off. Like, and eventually my wife kind of said, you need to go talk to someone, and I was super reluctant. Like, I'm like, I don't know, what are they going to say? Like, I've seen psychs before.
Not even that, you'll think you get kicked out of the cops.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, if I say something or whatever, then they're just going to go, we'll see ya.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure they'll offer help, but you're done with the cops. But I eventually did and got onto psych that I still see now. And we went through a lot of things. Like, I was a basket case the first day I went in and spoke to her about everything, and I just, like, broke down. Like, I just was crying in her office. Like, I couldn't even get the words out. Like, it's just like.
When was this? What year was this? So this is like 2000.
That would have been
16, 17.
Yeah, sometime maybe 2016, I suppose. So it took me a good sort of 12 months, maybe a bit longer, to sort of recognise what was and something needed to be done. But I still hadn't told work anything. I think this is all just through. I forget what you call it, but you can make that discreet call and they put you onto someone. And but that took me a lot, even just to make that call. Like I was shaken just thinking about making that call, and I did. And I'm glad I did. And then we're just sort of working through a lot of things, but I'd kind of let myself go too far. I think it was very hard, and it still is today. Like it's not like you're walking around like how good's this? Like I think it's going to be a constant battle, but it was hard to grasp what I was dealing with or why or how it was affecting me. But I knew because it was affecting my wife and family a bit that I had to try. Like otherwise I'm going to be, she's going to go, like she'll leave or, So it was like, okay. So I did all that and started working through everything and kind of was, heading in the right direction, I suppose. Like I'd go through waves, like I'd be good and then I'd get back down and not good again. And because I was doing the tactical stuff on the side and I still loved doing jobs. Like if there was a tactical job, I didn't want to miss it. Like loved doing all that. But I was getting to the point where we'd do like a annual camp every year and we get like a psychologist come down, they run you through, it's like 300 questions, like psychometric testing. I know you know what that is, but and I was getting to the point where I'm answering this as truthfully as I can. And I was ticking boxes, which in my head I'm like, I'm going to get a tap on the shoulder in a minute whilst I'm training to say, you need to come talk to us. Like, and it didn't come. And 3 months later, I get a phone call like, oh, we're just reviewing your results for this. And in my head, I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, like it's too late. Like, I didn't tick anything that would need an immediate response, but I figured it would need
attention
of some sort. Like, I don't necessarily think that day, but within a week or so, I would imagine I would have gotten a call or something. Like, but just nothing. No, that's just the system, I suppose. Like, I'm sure they've probably got 100 people to go through now. Like, ticks a flag, and better do something about that one. But so it's not. I wouldn't say it's a perfect thing, but yeah. So, but this was all ongoing for a long time, and which I guess it builds up to, I guess the 2019 job, but
up until this, so you're getting a bit of help here and there, and
I was still working, still turning up to work,
doing the policing, and then far out, you thought you were involved in the last shooting, but however, you may have or may not have been part of this one, which is still just for listeners, still getting under the inquest.
Yeah, it's still in the coronial inquest stage. That part's been done, but the findings haven't been released yet. So I've got to be very careful about what.
We'll completely just skim over this, but essentially you're involved in an officer shooting. Where was this in?
It was in Taree.
In Taree.
Yeah. So I was on a tactical deployment. Taree.
Tactical deployment, man with a knife, and he was shot by police.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
May have been from your firearm or not.
Yeah.
Wait for the findings.
Yep. Look, there's nothing to say there's anything untoward or it wasn't justified or anything, but I don't want to go against any, of coroner's recommendations or, what do you call it, stipulations at the moment. But, so then obviously that kind of set me back again for a while. And
because this man was killed by police.
Yep. So he passed away.
Which was all cleared again. This has all been cleared and
the findings haven't exactly come
just
out,
the
but
findings,
there's nothing.
But the inquest has been completed.
Yeah. unjustified at this point. So yeah, that obviously then that's a serious job on its own, and I just thought I can't keep doing this. Like I don't know what it's going to do to me or my family again. So I had time off work after that for about it was about 8 months, and during that time I went through a range of emotions of I'm sick of the cops. Like
That's it.
Yeah, like I'm done. Like I don't want anything to do with them. I don't, basically stick it up your ass essentially. Like, and then
And what were the thoughts for that? Were they just treating you in a way, or
I don't know. It's probably
Don't
more.
know.
It's probably more me
Just
feeling
all
sorry
in
for
your
myself,
head,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
like I mean, they can only do what they can do. Like it was probably easier for me to, at that point,
blame the cops?
them
Yep.
for that.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about blaming the people I work with. I'm just organisation.
The organisation in general,
yeah. Like,
And it is a changing police force. At this stage, it's full gone against everything. Well, fuck, it is now. It's against everything policing should be.
yeah.
I think it is anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a sign of the times, isn't it? But
Yeah.
it's I don't know. Maybe it made me feel better to have someone to blame.
Of course.
But so I went through a period. Yeah, I'm done. I'm definitely not going back. Like, no way. And then I don't know. And it was 2019, so that happened in July. So probably that Christmas, that was probably where I was probably at my lowest. Like, just it all set in and just didn't feel good at all. And I don't know what was going through my head, but it just wasn't good. And then I don't know, something. I don't know whether it was because it's very hard to find out how life works outside the cops. Like, it's getting better now. Like, there's information out there, but when I kind of was trying to, because I've got wife, family, I've got a mortgage. I can't not go to work.
That's it. Yeah.
I don't want to lose the house. I don't want to make us homeless because I can't go to work. And it was very hard to sort of establish exactly what's what and, how it all works. So I think I kind of convinced myself that I'll go back to work and I'll try and get promoted. Like, I feel like I've got something to offer. Like, I've had enough experiences. Like, I'll try and get to sergeant or something and see if that works. And so I went back to work eventually, and
So the cops basically I wouldn't say fixed you, but got you to a standard to where you were back to
it's
somewhat.
The cops had nothing to do with it, really. Like, they're kind of
They know, like they obviously did.
Yeah, they knew of my history, but even when
the extent.
Yeah, but even when I went back to work, my then commander was like, he goes, "So were you involved in Lindt?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "It's not on our we call it injury management thing." He goes, "That's not on here." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's weird." Yeah, it was. And also I had that shooting, and he goes, "That's not on here either." So I don't know. Something's fallen over somewhere, and it's like, so I don't know whether it just slipped through the cracks or.
That's two though.
Yeah,
maybe one.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe the second one, because Lindt's pretty prominent.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened with that, or why, or if that would have changed anything. But essentially, me coming back to work was proving that I could go back to work. Like, so they had to go see the medical officer, and initially he, a medical officer and a psychologist, and the medical officer essentially said, "I'm not willing to sign off on you." And at the time, I was furious.
Of course.
I was like, "How dare you? Like, I'll tell you when I'm ready to go to work or not." Like, but I look back and I kind of go,
"He's correct. He was right.
He's probably right."
Yeah.
Like, why would you sign off on that? Like, why'd you go? Yeah, go back into, go for it. Like,
yeah.
and he obviously just wanted to push it up his chain and someone else sign off on it, and which eventually did.
And it's the last thing they want to do is stop a cop, especially with the numbers decreasing.
Yeah, and especially if I'm saying I want to come back to work.
That's it, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
okay.
So it's
all right. And my local area, very supportive, very helpful, like, but it's on you to prove that you're capable of going back to work. And at that time I thought I was, like, and I was, but then, you know, like, and my work at Mid-North Coast, like, they sort of did a lot for me and, like, tried to shelter me and from jumping straight back into GDs, like, and so I'm very grateful for that because they were, you know, they didn't have to. They could just be like, "Oh, you're welcome back. Like, jump on the truck and away you go," kind of thing. But they didn't, and they did their best to help me out. But I could just, so I did probably another, it was nearly 2 years, I think it was. And I could just feel myself going straight back to how I was, like, and I was having what I put down now to some sort of panic attacks, I suppose. Like, it was one day I was sitting in the office, I was doing like the education officer role. I don't know what it was that set me off, but I'm sitting there, my heart is beating out of my chest, and I actually rang my wife, said, I think I'm having a heart attack. Like, my heart was just pumping so much, and she's like, "You need to call an ambulance." I'm like, you know, typical, like, no, I'll be all right. So I just laid down on the office floor and closed my eyes for 5 minutes, and I kind of just thought, I didn't think too much of it. I'm just like, what's that? Like, what was that about? And then I had 2 weeks scheduled leave and had leave, and the whole time I was just cranky. And then as I got closer to going back to work, my heart was like, I could feel it just boom, 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 boom. Like, and I'm thinking, I'm going to be not even 40 and give myself a heart attack. Like, and I just sort of come to this realization. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Like, as much as I would miss a lot of stuff, I'm like, I just can't do this. Like, and so, yeah, I called up and said, yeah, I think I can't come in, I'm done. Like, and and that was it. Like, it sort of shows over. Like, you know, you got to go through your process, and they ring up, and insurance companies get involved, and which at the time is stressful too, because
they're a bunch of pricks too, aren't they?
Like, depends, right? Everyone's got different experiences.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that they're doing it out of the good of their own heart.
Definitely not. Costing them money.
Yeah,
They're definitely not.
However, I haven't necessarily had a negative, full, like, fighting with them to get. I don't ask for much or anything, but I haven't had that full negative experience. However, when you first go off, your phone doesn't stop. Like, if it's not the insurance company, it's someone else, and it's a lot. Like, you know, I'm still trying to go, like
just leave me alone.
Yeah, and your mates are reaching out, going, "You're all right," like, which is all cool. Like, but you kind of need that, like, oh my God, like, it takes you a minute to sort of go, have I made the right decision, or is this, like, you know, you start second guessing yourself, and so it's kind of a big shock, and then, but once you get your head around, I guess, the system, and it does die off a little bit, and it's like, okay, like, so it's taken me a while, but you sort of start to look towards the future and get yourself sorted. Like, you know, my focus now is just I'm not so much too worried about what I do for work, to be honest. It's more, as long as I can get that balance with being a good husband and father, and, you know, obviously you want to provide, but I'm not necessarily about doing the high-end stuff anymore, sort of thing. Like, I don't know, the quiet kind of just chipping away seems kind of appealing at the moment. Maybe once I get into it, I'll be like, oh, I should do something else. But, yeah, it's hard. Like, it's a big change to where you think you were. And I think that's probably one of the things I struggled not being
losing
TOU.
your identity.
Yeah. And
it is, man.
And I've listened to a couple of podcasts, and they talk about it. And it's like, that's 100% true. Like, that's who I am. Like,
You'll
You'll
never be that again.
Yeah, and I'm not that, and I'm not that anymore. And
that was the pinnacle of your life.
Yeah,
the
like
greatest,
I've peaked way too early, and
that's it,
and then
you know,
and what am I going to do now? But I kind of look at it and you go, well, I am young enough, I guess, I can have a whole nother career, which is probably going to be longer than my cop career.
Yeah,
essentially, like the way retirement age is going. But yeah, that was hard to get my head around for a long time. Like that's who I am. I spent so much time talking about it and doing it that like people are like, "Shut up, we get it. Like you're going to do that. Like it's fine." But yeah, now so now it's just trying to work out what's next, I guess. But that's the joy of, I guess, like trying to find something that's interesting and something else I can try to throw myself into, try to commit to that, and see where we go. But I've heard of a couple of the other blokes and things, like ex-police and stuff, and I do have that interest in either one, trying to help out with either ex-cops or military, with what way I don't know, but I think that's probably where my head is at the moment. Like, until something else happens, but I think that's something I would find some sort of enjoyment. Like, even if it was, going around having a chat to people or whatever. Like, I don't know how that would work wise, but I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm drifting my head off to at the moment. And
well, you've lived that experience, mate, so you've got plenty to offer.
Yeah, like, and it's not necessarily about wanting to go around telling war stories or anything like that, but like if there's you all know it's like, or you talk to someone who doesn't have that connection with it, like it kind of just feels a bit hollow. And whereas if you had a chat to someone or that has been involved in things, and you kind of, there's that mutual respect, and it's just you're more inclined to have a chat because it's a bit easier. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what plays out with anything like that. But yeah, there's a whole world out there to sort of get into. Yeah, there's all these jobs that I never even knew existed until you sort of start looking into it. And yeah. So, but it should be good. We'll see where we.
Yeah, mate. Oh, fuck! What a story, mate.
Yeah.
Like, again, for someone to be in the TOU, to be involved in so many different incidences that were high profile,
Yeah.
In a way, it's compacting on a human being itself.
Yeah.
And
don't get me wrong, like, there's blokes that are still there working
100%,
that have done much more than me.
Oh, 100%.
Like, and that so many jobs that you don't even really hear about but are super full on. Like, they don't necessarily get the media coverage or whatever, but so like, they continue to do good work, and they've been in the news a little bit recently with jobs that I've seen pop up.
A couple of cool ones.
Good to see, and that makes you kind of go
standing on bonnets with 12 gauges.
Yeah, like that stuff. You just like, I miss that. But
that's where you point at your kids. That used to be me.
That used to be your
dad.
Yeah, your busted old dad used to do that. But no, like there's some very good operators that still, I wouldn't know probably half of them now. Like they're all a bit younger than me, I suppose. But there's the older blokes that are still there and running around, like they do a good job and very professional. And like, don't get me wrong, when the job's not on, it's shit talking. And, like, if people listened, you'd be like, oh my God, look, grow up. But when the job's on there, like it's on. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Mate, again, absolutely just incredible to get your life story, obviously, but another aspect of that Lindt Cafe Siege. It's a moment in time that gripped Australia, and anyone that was around that time, everyone knows exactly. Again, it's almost like, I wouldn't say 9/11, but you know what I mean. It's like one of those days that everyone here in Australia understands. We're like, fuck yeah! I remember watching it.
Yeah.
Live on TV. I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah,
that's hectic.
Yeah,
that's hectic.
and it was an experience, and like, you know, not that it's a weird, because she kind of like, I don't particularly want to be involved in anything like that ever again. However, there's a part of you that kind of goes, I'm glad that I was, like, I don't know, even though the toll it's sort of taken.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the effort that we put in that day, days. So it's kind of something, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, that one. Like, it's good on one hand and bad in the other, but yeah.
Yeah, right, mate. So, well, mate, we've been chatting for a fair stint now.
Going all right,
and,
are we?
Yeah,
right.
mate, yeah, it's been absolutely fucking just crazy. And, mate, a couple of final questions.
Yep.
Mate, first question, what advice can you give to people just to keep on keeping on, complete any goal they set their mind to, and just to, you know, just to fucking kill it in life, you know, again, for you.
Yeah.
Young fella, did a bit of apprenticeship, moved into the police, thought, fuck this, TOU, few big things, PTSD.
Yep.
And here you are now, mate, laughing, smiling, and
yeah, well, yeah, it's I guess if, like, I'm trying to look at things now, and even when I was younger, like, if you're gonna do something or you decide to put your mind to something, whatever that is, but just try to commit to it full on. Like, it's hard when you got a family and commitments and things, but I try to look at things like, try to be the best at whatever it is that you're doing. Like, if you're a nurse, or try and be that best person in your field. So whilst it's hard, it also sort of makes you strive to aim for excellence, kind of thing. So that'd be my, even for anyone young or anyone who's thinking about trying to do TOU, like, if you're going to do it, and you need to commit to it. And
smash it.
And, yeah, go full ball. You can't go half-assed, because the moment it gets hard, you're just going to say, I'm done. So I don't know, it's probably pretty generic, but I guess that's what kind of is. And I probably need to take my own advice too sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, it's easy to say it, but you got to live it, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're right, mate. Second question, what is the plans for the future? You're studying back to study?
Yeah, I've just jumped back into a bit of TAFE. It's just a Cert 3 in fitness at the moment. It's more just to get my head back around studying and learning how to learn, and you know, have an interest in how the human body works and things like that. So I don't know. We'll see where it ends up. If but I do have, you know, I've got an interest in that, and even the mental health side of things. Like, I don't know what's open out there for things like that, but you know, I'll have a look at that and just see. But it's just, I got to constantly work on myself. Like, try to get back to some sort of normality, a bit more, try and relax a little bit more, as opposed to being so wound up all the time. But, so yeah, that's probably my main goals at the moment.
Yeah, right. In regards to that relaxing, like, has there ever been a time, like, in the last, you know, year or two, where you've seen a crime happen and you're like you feel like you got to...
Oh, it's...
Or you see someone driving through with their phone or something.
Yeah,
you know?
it's more driving stuff. Like, it's not necessarily people on their phones, like I usually like, or whatever, but, like, I don't know, if you see a rat bag speeding around and it's just like, it's just... Yeah, stop driving like a goose.
That's
like
the sirens.
Oh, yeah, and it's just highways never around when you need them.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other particular crimes that have been committed, but I don't know. You know, it's a bit of halfback road rage when you're driving around. You're like, slow down. But I was never a traffic Nazi either. Like, when I was in, like, I don't know. I just think it's not that hard to just cruise around. Like, you don't have to. It's I think more of it's like, you have an accident and hurt someone. Far out. But anyway, that's
Mate's third question now. This one is just to bring you back down to the human level, just being a dude and just being a bloke. Mate, tell us something that people don't know about you. Guilty obsession or something.
You know what my guilty obsession probably is my grass.
Oh, you one of those blokes?
Yeah, a bit of a lawn. I'm a bit of a lawn dad, to be honest.
No.
I don't know. My old man always used to look after the lawn, but never had anything technical, but I don't know. You start YouTube and things, and you
Yeah.
go down a rabbit hole. And
There's actually one. Actually, I've watched a guy. There's a good guy on YouTube.
yeah,
An Aussie guy that makes
yeah,
grass.
yeah. I've probably watched. Is it Ben Sims? Is that him?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's got his own little golf thing as well.
Yeah, it's nice. But I don't know. I spend too much money on a lawnmower now and all these things. It's just become a hobby that I kind of, and I actually find it
Therapeutic.
Yeah, in a way, like
it's just a separation from the real
yeah,
world.
I can focus on something else for a bit and
grass growing.
Yeah, I know it seems weird, but yeah, I don't know. I enjoy it. So yeah.
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
I know. It's such a dad thing to do. But,
it is.
It's,
did you ever get into the smoking, as in not the smoking, the green stuff, the smoking meats and stuff? There's a phase we go through when we get out of things. We move into the grass. I was into it for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm full
smoking meat.
Yeah, I'm full dad mode with all that stuff. I don't have a smoke. I have got like a Weber kettle, and I do a little bit of smoking with that. But I am slowly learning how to do things. So yes, I enjoy doing that. Yeah, what's not to like?
You'll get sick of it soon.
Yeah.
I've been through that stage.
I know. I always have this. I'm like, oh, cook a bit of meat, have a couple of beers, look at the grass. Like, that's me. Like, I'm set.
Yeah, mate. Last question. Favorite cop movie or TV show?
There is a couple. So my favorite movie was when I first joined the cop and I was looking to get in TOU was SWAT.
Oh, remember the original one?
No.
Oh, the
Will
one with
Ferrell. Not Will Ferrell.
Yeah, Colin Farrell.
That one.
Yeah.
That and Bad Boys.
You can't go past Bad Boys. That's how I imagine myself being a cop.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Just LAPD freeze everywhere.
The shirt's probably a bit tight, but
just white singlets.
I would have watched those movies on repeat hundreds of times, I reckon. But I heard you mention it before too, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, I fucking love that show.
Me and the wife,
we're
obsessed. Like
funniest show, I reckon, funniest TV show that's ever been put out.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I thought the last season went a bit wokey, like they were a bit like, it was all about like police excessive force and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
everything else
was hilarious. So we'd be like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine series, we're on, so they're probably the ones.
Yeah, I'm down. I think one of my favourite comedy cop movies is The Other Guys.
Yeah, that is a classic. I reckon that's so underrated, that movie.
It is. And it's funny because there's the part where obviously where the Dirty Mike and the boys have their soup kitchen
in the F Shack.
One of the pubs we look after, one of the managers, he got his car stolen. Yeah. Turns out this homeless guy was living in this car, and he showed me photos. The cops. It's funny because the cops said the exact same thing. He goes, he asked the cops, he's like, "Oh, what should I do with this car?" And they're just like, "You need to burn it." And it just reminded me of the other guys. Like,
that is a classic movie. That whole
thanks to the F Shack, Dirty Mike and the boys.
And that if I was a lion and you're a tuna, like that whole segment. I tried to learn that verbatim. I kept stuffing it up, but that is a classic.
Absolute classic.
Yeah.
Mates, for whatever reason people want to reach out to you, I guess you're pretty...
I've kind of
just reached through
probably best,
mate.
It's probably the best way at the moment.
Yeah.
And
hopefully you get into this, veteran first responder space, and you got a wealth of knowledge, mate. So I think it's invaluable, someone of your stature, to possibly get into it. And because I think there was a suicide in Queensland only last week. I think a police officer, and I think there was one a few months ago here in New South Wales, down at Sydney, young fella.
Yeah, well, so
his life. And
if that's the one at Sydney, so that was a mate of mine that committed suicide. With his at work, and tragic. It's like young kids and everything, and it's just extremely sad. Like it.
It's just a waste, isn't it?
Yeah, total waste.
Of life.
Yeah, and he's such a legend of a bloke too. So
anyway. So mate, as I said, mate, it'd be really good to probably see you get into that space and pass on that knowledge, mate. it can help a lot of people. And who knows, you might get to a bit of gun training or something. And teach people
Who knows? I'm trying not to say
pretty good on the trigger.
It's been a bit rusty at the moment. So, but anyway, we'll see what happens and go from there.
No, awesome, mate. Again, really appreciate you coming down here to Newey and recording this podcast.
My pleasure,
and
Thanks
stay in contact, mate. Let's
for sure, mate. Yeah,
have some beer and
it's been
we can
been a
have
pleasure.
Smoke some meat and
Sound,
watch the grass grow.
You can mow some grass.
Cheers, mate.
All right, thanks, mate.
Cheers.